Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. President Trump is expected to sign the Genius Act today, the first federal law to regulate digital currency tied to the U.S. dollar. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem today highlighting immigration crackdown actions to arrest what the department says are the worst of the worst criminal illegal immigrants. She says Americans are safer because of it. A federal judge today reconsiders his previous nationwide injunction on President Trump's birthright citizenship order. In two overnight votes, $9 billion in DOGE cuts approved in Congress, and House lawmakers barely passed a defense budget, with a handful of lawmakers crossing party lines. We have the updates. A Brazilian court orders former President Jair Bolsonaro to wear an ankle bracelet as police raid his home and his political headquarters. This comes less than a day after President Trump sent a letter to Bolsonaro.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. President Trump is set to sign the Genius Act this afternoon, which is a landmark bill that lays out the first federal rules for cryptocurrency. The Genius Act sets initial guardrails and consumer protections for stablecoins, which is a type of cryptocurrency that is tied to stable assets like the U.S. dollar. To reduce the volatility, that is. It passed both the House and Senate with wide bipartisan support. Trump posted about the bill's passing this morning, praising Republicans for what he called a major accomplishment. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says a deal with Japan is within the realm of possibility. Bessent met with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba today. Ishiba expressed optimism after meeting Bessent at his office in Tokyo. Bessent thanked the Japanese Prime Minister for his hospitality on X. He posted, quote, "A good deal is more important than a rushed deal." President Donald Trump has threatened a 25% tariff on Japanese imports beginning in August. For the first time in decades, Congress used a special process to claw back funding. In a late-night vote, House lawmakers approved $9 billion in DOGE cuts, sending it to President Trump's desk. NTD's Melina Weisskopf reports.
On this vote, the yeas are 216. The nays are 213. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Two Republicans joined all Democrats in opposition, barely pushing it over the finish line. The cuts apply to foreign aid and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which helps to fund news outlets like NPR and PBS.
This was directed to wasteful spending in the previous State Department, of course, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and a couple of other areas. We looked at that. We thought it was a waste of taxpayer funds, and we're taking care of business. So we'll continue to do that. We're going to downsize the scope of government. Government is too large. It does too many things, and it does almost nothing well.
The Speaker said this is the first of many such packages coming down the pike. The Trump administration has already indicated they'll send many more packages after the first one makes it through. In a separate vote early this morning, the House approved the president's $832 billion defense funding request for fiscal year 2026. 5 Democrats joined with support, while 3 Republicans opposed it. Here's one of the opposers.
I still think we need to cut some more, honestly.
While the Pentagon budget stays flat from last year, it comes after Republicans already approved $150 billion in their big budget bill for President Trump's defense priorities. The bill will now need to go to the Senate, where its fate is uncertain. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
Secretary of Homeland Security Noem is in Nashville today, highlighting important immigration enforcement actions by the administration to keep Americans safe. At a press conference with posters of criminal illegal immigrants in the front and confiscated guns on the table, Noem says the department is arresting illegal immigrants that have committed horrendous crimes. Take a look.
2 Venezuelan nationals with ties to Tren de Aragua have been arrested here. This was done back in January, and their crimes include promoting prostitution and evading arrest. In February, HSI Nashville arrested a 35-year-old Venezuelan charged with homicide after he stabbed his own wife to death. In January, HSI Nashville here arrested a 22-year-old Guatemalan who was an illegal alien here in this country. The charges against this individual count 3 charges of child rape, sexual exploitation of a minor, and identity theft. Also arrested here is a 60-year-old illegal alien from Iraq. His criminal history includes convictions of rape, larceny, and false imprisonment. They're the worst of the worst. And America is safer because they're off of our streets, because of the work of the individuals behind me, but all of the agents and officials within HSI and ICE.
Noam says the Nashville DHS office is at the forefront going after child exploitation rings, child trafficking and human trafficking rings, some of which have been using Nashville as a hub. Meanwhile, she criticized the mayor of Nashville for publicly releasing the names of immigration enforcement officers. The mayor's office later removed the information. Here's Secretary Noam.
Mayor Freddie O'Connell has gone after our ICE individuals and agents that work with HSI. He's openly doxed them, revealed their information to the public, encouraged people to work against them in their efforts to clean up the streets of Nashville, and he has forced his city officials, his employees of the city of Nashville, to document every single interaction that they have with federal immigration authorities. What the mayor is doing to the city is shameful, and what he needs to do is participate with us and make sure that he's helping us uphold the rule of law.
Noam also said out of the 300,000 criminal illegal immigrants arrested since President Trump took office, 70% of them have criminal charges they are convicted of or pending against them. A South LA woman is facing federal charges after allegedly faking her own kidnapping by ICE agents to raise money. Prosecutors say Yuriana Calderon, an illegal immigrant, claimed she was abducted by federal immigration agents. But investigators say video and phone records show it was all a hoax. Her family raised money online and planned a press conference, but Calderon was later found safe in Bakersfield. She's now in immigration custody, charged with conspiracy and making false statements. An immigration raid at a cannabis farm in Southern California has led to a criminal investigation and a manhunt for a suspected gunman. The FBI has released a photo of the man suspected of firing a gun at federal agents during protests in Camaro last week. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the story.
An immigration raid at a Ventura County cannabis farm has sparked a criminal investigation and a manhunt for a suspected gunman. The incident unfolded outside Glass House Farms on July 10th. News helicopters captured the moment a person in the crowd allegedly fired a gun at federal agents. Federal authorities are offering a $50,000 reward for information leading to the suspect's arrest and conviction. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom is pushing back against the Trump administration's immigration enforcement actions, calling the National Guard deployment unnecessary and wasteful at a press conference on Wednesday.
5,000 military, 4,000 federalized with the National Guard, close to 1,000 U.S. Marines. He sent them to a United States city. The utilization rate of our National Guard, less than 5%. You spent hundreds of millions of dollars, wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on this.
Newsom says federal enforcement is hurting small businesses and stoking fear in immigrant communities, calling it political theater. The U.S. Department of Justice is requesting data from California sheriffs on all non-citizens held in county jails, including in Los Angeles and San Francisco counties. Officials argue the data request is necessary to help immigration agents identify and remove individuals who have committed serious crimes after entering the country illegally. They say while all illegal immigrants are in violation of federal law by definition, those who go on to commit violent offenses including rape, murder, and other felonies pose a heightened threat to public safety. Officials say the goal is to prioritize deportations of criminal illegal aliens and ensure public safety across the nation. Christina Corona, NTD News.
The Department of Agriculture says it has fired 70 foreign contract researchers. The firings follow a national security review to secure the U.S. food supply from adversaries, including China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced a farm security plan on July 8th. The plan includes efforts to bar purchases of U.S. farmland by foreign nationals from the 4 countries. Any existing research agreements with them would be terminated. Rollins said the moves were necessary to secure the U.S. food supply. A government union official said most of those dismissed were Chinese postdoctoral researchers on 2-year contracts with the agency. A federal judge in Massachusetts today is weighing whether to alter his nationwide injunction on President Trump's limitations to birthright citizenship. The hearing comes after the Supreme Court recently ruled that nationwide injunctions likely exceed judges' authority. The plaintiffs, 19 states, the District of Columbia, and 2 nonprofit organizations are arguing that the court's sweeping injunction was the correct ruling because it provides complete relief. The Supreme Court had ruled that the injunction should be overturned if it is broader than necessary to provide complete relief to each plaintiff with standing to sue. The government says the plaintiffs are missing the point of the Supreme Court's ruling, which is that a judge's ruling can benefit only the plaintiffs named in the lawsuit. The judge has taken the new arguments under advisement. Joining us now to discuss District Judge Leo Sorokin's decision on birthright citizenship is legal analyst Bobby Ann Cox, civil rights attorney and fellow, Brownstone Institute. Also joining us is civil and criminal defense attorney Dante Mills. He's the lead attorney and managing partner at Mills Legal. So first of all, good afternoon to you both. Again, thanks for joining us this week. Dante, I'll start with you. Do you think it is likely, or what are the implications if Judge Sorokin decides to uphold his nationwide injunction despite the Supreme Court's recent ruling?
Well, this is going to put the Supreme Court's recent ruling to the test. They left it out. And most times in law, there are some exceptions that are built in. And the exception that the Supreme Court left here was for complete relief, was the phrase they used. So what this judge is going to have to decide is, do these states, because at this point there's about 19 different attorney generals from different states that's going to petition or join in with this petition for this judge and say that our citizens can be impacted as well. And if one state or one district decides that birthright citizenship is permissible or should remain permissible, then the government can go to just another jurisdiction and try to get relief. So the only way to get complete relief is if the decision impacts the entire nation. That's what the movements are arguing here, that the only way to make sure that these citizens, as they are now, don't lose their citizenship is if this ruling affects everybody or everywhere, every jurisdiction in the country. So the judge is going to have to decide if that's necessary or if it should be limited to one jurisdiction and one plaintiff alone. And then I think either way, the Supreme Court is going to have to weigh in to give explanation to what complete relief should and actually does mean.
Okay, Bobby Ann, what are your thoughts? Is it likely? How might Judge Sorokin justify maintaining nationwide block?
So I think here there is a really big problem with standing. If you look at who is bringing this lawsuit, as Dante mentioned, it's 19 attorneys general. So it's states, actual states are suing over President Trump's executive order regarding birthright citizenship. And technically, the states don't have standing to bring that argument. This is not a situation where the federal government is infringing on states' rights. The states don't have the right to determine citizenship or not. That is a federal question that is very specific in our federal constitution. So I think there is a tremendous problem here with standing. In that the states don't have the right or have the ability to bring this kind of a lawsuit against the Trump administration. So I think that is something that is going to have to play out in the higher courts, because obviously this specific trial court judge is not paying any attention to that very glaring fact.
Okay, Dante, do you have a response to that?
Bobby Ann is right. Yeah, I think Bobby Ann is right. Absolutely. That there's a question about whether or not the states have the right. But there is an argument that the states do have a right to stand on behalf of their citizens. And that's what they're doing now. They're saying these people are citizens of our states and we're acting on their behalf. And we have the right to act on behalf of our citizens because we essentially represent them. The court is going to have to decide that, because I think there's a nuance there, whether or not they're challenging if birthright citizenship is appropriate that's a secondary question. But if we're talking about standing, I think there is an argument to be made that the states can represent their own citizens and speak on behalf or bring cases on their behalf.
Okay, Bobby Ann, on birthright citizenship itself, in his ruling in February, Judge Sorokin said that the Constitution confers birthright citizenship broadly, including persons within the categories described in the executive order, of course, referring to Trump's order. So does the 14th Amendment and the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof include children to undocumented immigrants, in your view?
No, it would not. I mean, we have to look at what the founding fathers, the framers of the Constitution, were looking at. What was the situation at that day and that time, and what did they mean when they created this provision in our Constitution? It's ludicrous to think that they envisioned that people would sneak into our country or openly come into our country illegally, breaking our laws to get here. And then give birth to a child and then have the right for that child to become a citizen of our country. Or alternatively, that somebody would be here vacationing temporarily or here on a temporary visa, perhaps a student visa or something like that, give birth to a child, and then that child automatically is a citizen of this country. I mean, it's just a ridiculous, position to take from a legal standpoint. Subject to the jurisdiction of our country means you live here, you are a citizen, or you are legally here. You are a permanent legal resident. You have a green card, and you're allowed to be in this country, and you have children. Yes, your children are citizens, but not if you came here illegally or if you're here very temporarily. It's not what the founding fathers envisioned.
Dante, what is your expert analysis on the ruling?
I disagree with that, and we can look at it in different ways. If we talk about the intent of the founding fathers, listen, they stated clearly: "Bring me, you're tired, you're poor, you're hungry." They weren't in a position or have the belief that we should be trying to keep people out. That's just not who they were, because our founding fathers came here seeking that same kind of relief. So I doubt that they would take that position that we're better than someone else, and unless you meet these specific qualifications. If they wanted those qualifications to be in there, they could have, which in fact they did, amend or put language in there that makes a distinction. They didn't. They said subject to the jurisdiction. Everybody within our country is subject to the laws of our country. Whether you're here legally or not, if you break a law, you have to face trial or court or charges in our jurisdiction. So you are subject to the jurisdiction. How can we say that an illegal immigrant is here and charge them with the crime and say you have to show up to court? But then when it comes to them falling within our jurisdiction for birthright citizenship or something positive, say, oh, but it doesn't count for that. We don't have jurisdiction over you, or you aren't within our jurisdiction there. I think the language is plain. We can try to parse it out or make some kind of excuse if we want to take the stance that it should be harder to become a citizen. But the founding fathers made it clear. The language is clear. And I think we have to leave it there unless there's an amendment to the Constitution.
But Dante, you don't think the original meaning of the 14th Amendment refers to the full political allegiance of an individual and the jurisdiction of a foreign government has over that individual?
So that's one of the qualifications. We're not talking here. That order doesn't address people who aren't in allegiance to the United States. That order says that courts or the country should not validate the citizenship of people whose parents are not citizens, that were born here. That has nothing to do with the allegiance to the country. So if you want to make that separate distinction, if someone is determined to be a traitor to the nation or show some kind of non-allegiance to our country or some kind of threat to our country, there are procedures in place to remove those people. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, and that order specifically refers to individuals who were born here, who simply their parents are not citizens. There is no carve out in the amendment for that. There could have been if the founding fathers intended for that to be the case.
Okay, Bobby Ann, what do you say to the Supreme Court's 1898 ruling in United States v. Wong Kim Ark, in which it interpreted the 14th Amendment as recognizing the right to birthright citizenship regardless of the status of immigration of a baby's parents?
Yeah, well, the decision, you have to look at every decision as a snapshot in time. You have to look at every decision as what were the actual facts surrounding that decision. because it's very rare that facts are always the same when it goes from one plaintiff to another plaintiff or to a case in general. I do want to just say, to Dante's point, if the founding fathers wanted everybody that is born in this country, even if they're born to a tourist, even if they're born to a student who's here on a visa for short-term period, even if they're born to someone who snuck across our border and came in here illegally, then they would have made the language clear. They would have said every person in the United States of America who has a child, that child is now a citizen. But that's not what they said. They picked their language very carefully, and they said, subject to the jurisdiction. So if you're from a foreign country and you come here illegally, or you're here as a tourist, you live in a different country, you're a citizen of a different country, you're subject to your country's purview. And just because you're in our country as a tourist or as a temporary student or as an illegal immigrant, that doesn't mean that your child automatically gets citizenship. So we do have a difference of opinion on what that means.
Okay, Dante, just one more thought from you, and then I want to change gears a little bit.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll bounce back because I think this is a good conversation. But what's the response to the fact that our courts have jurisdiction over people who are here, whether they are here legally or not? We have jurisdiction to bring charges against people, to summon them to court. They are subject to our jurisdiction. So what's different, or what distinction is there that then in this particular case they wouldn't be?
Okay, I want to change gears now. Another issue I would like your guys' comments on is that the Trump administration asked an appeals court on July 14th to allow immigration operations to resume in Southern California. And that's after District Judge Frimpong issued a temporary restraining order last Friday. So Bobby Ann, the judge found that DHS was allegedly targeting individuals based on characteristics such as how they look. So my question to you is, how does the Fourth Amendment apply to immigration enforcement actions? To what extent can factors like, race, language, other things be used as part of establishing reasonable suspicion?
Right. Well, that's just an argument and a practice of, being a demagogue. Okay. The federal government, the ICE agents, from what I've read and from what I'm hearing in news reports, are targeting individuals who are not just here illegally, right? They didn't just come across the border illegally and broke a law doing that, but they're targeting criminals, hard criminals that are committing crimes. Either once they get into our country, they've committed further crimes, or they committed crimes in their country and they have a rap sheet in their country. And so they are targeting these people, and for, the plaintiffs in this case, and then the judge to basically take their language and regurgitate it in the decision, it's really just trying to tug at the heartstrings because what's actually happening is they're not just going around, the ICE agents aren't just going around picking anybody willy-nilly off the street. They're doing their homework, they're doing their research. And this is a very serious situation. I mean, these ICE agents are putting their lives on the line. Many have been attacked, many have been harmed, and it's absolutely ridiculous. They're doing their job, they're enforcing the law. And if there's pushback, it's completely inappropriate and it's against the law. So I think it's really just, they're blowing smoke to hide the facts and twisting the truth to hide the facts. That's not exactly what's going on.
Okay, Dante, the Trump administration argues that that judge overstepped her authority by interfering in federal immigration enforcement.
That judge is the right thing. And I'll start by saying I'm a proponent. I'm in favor of border control. We needed control of our borders. I think that's happening. I think it's a good thing. But I also think that we have to remember that we're dealing with people, right? And not just what we have is a situation, and this wasn't something just made up. There was evidence that this judge pointed out, specifically people in the Trump administration who said what their standards were, what criteria they were using. And they used things like, if you had an accent, they decided that that was probable cause. That's just wrong. You can't target people that way. We have protections in place. Everyone should be treated fairly. There is no question. If you've done your homework as an agent, you've got some kind of tip, or there's some kind of information that you have that will lead you to believe that there are undocumented people or people who should not be here, do what you need to do. But that's not what's happening all over this country. They are going to places that they think Hispanic people are. Let's just be honest. They're not targeting Russian immigrants or people from other countries in Europe. What they're doing is going places where they believe Hispanic people are, and they say, you have an accent, you speak Spanish, I'm going to detain you and figure out who you are and if you should be here or not. That's just not how we should operate, because again, we're dealing with human lives here, and we should not take that stance of having that prejudice and having that value where we look at people and say, you are more likely to be a problem than someone else, because that's what's happening. And I'm glad the judge called them out and put in that order specifically the words of the Trump administration that was outlining the criteria they were using.
Okay, Bobby Ann, did the judge act within her legal boundaries?
No, absolutely not. And this is just ridiculous. Judges are not allowed to set policy. Okay, judges don't set domestic policy. Judges don't set foreign policy. That is not the judge. That is not the purview of a judge. It is not within the constitutional command of a judge. We have separation of powers in our Constitution for a reason, so that one branch of government does not become too powerful. And in this case, and in many cases that we've seen as of late, the federal judges are giving themselves powers that they do not have. So judges can't say whether or not a policy of the federal government, the executive branch, is good or bad. That is not their job, and it is not a power that they have. So in this case, yet again, we see another federal judge thinking that they know better than a policy of the administration and the executive branch, and they're imposing their own will. It's completely, it's completely judicial overreach at its best. Not to mention the other fact that it's in violation. It is not the court's job. They don't set policy. Policy is made by the executive. I mean, so the president is supposed to just sit there and look pretty in the Oval Office. I mean, according to these judges, the president has no powers at all. They're trying to curb everything that's being done, including enforcing our immigration laws. So the judge is
what the court is doing is saying,
here.
Okay.
Yeah, what the court is doing is saying, our job, your job, executive branch, is to set the policy. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I think part of this immigration policy is good and beneficial for this country, but you can't use discriminatory practices. And that is the job of the judicial branch, to say, this law has been created. Our job is to make sure it doesn't violate the Constitution. And when you have a policy that's happening where people say, I'm going to violate your rights and discriminate against you because you have an accent or because you speak Spanish, then it is the judicial branch's job to say that violates the Constitution. Therefore, this policy is improper and illegal, and it should not be enforced. That's what they're supposed to do.
Okay, we're running out of time here. I started with Dante, so Bobby Ann, final thoughts.
Yeah, that's not what's happening here. I mean, the head of the Department of Homeland Security is standing on, national TV, giving example after example of the people that are being detained and that they are deporting, that they are getting off our streets to make Americans safer. And these are cold, hard criminals. And if you want to hear or read some of the things that they've done, it's outrageous. It's murder, it's rape, it's assault. These things are absolutely horrendous. So, to say that the Trump administration is going around just pulling people off the street because they have an accent is not true. And we need to look at what the facts are, and we have to hear all the reports, not just the reports from one side of the story. That's just an unfair way to approach things.
All right, I'm sure we'll have similar conversations again in the future, but we'll leave it there for today. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
3 Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies are dead after an explosion at a police training center in East Los Angeles. A large response team arrived on the scene shortly after the blast. Local authorities are taking a look. Multiple employees and deputies were evacuated from the area. The circumstances surrounding the explosion remain unclear. The training center serves as a base for the bomb squad, housing all of its equipment and vehicles. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has not released any additional details. An investigation into the blast is ongoing. Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on X, quote, Our federal agents are at the scene and we're working to learn more. Please pray for the families of the sheriff's deputies killed. And soon the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is going to hold a news conference on this. We'll bring you that live. Coming up, CBS says it's canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. What the company is saying about the decision to end the popular late night program. Stay with us.
I go by Jackie. I'm 44 years old. I had 3 kids at the time and single mother. I was working 60 hours a week. Still couldn't pay the bills. Skipped meals so that they could eat. It's been hard because one thing falls into place, 10 things fall out of place. I just can't do this alone and make it work.
1 in 5 kids face hunger in America, and food costs are rising. But everyone needs nourishing food to thrive, and they can when we work together so our neighbors can feed their families. Call or go online right now to join Feeding America with your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. Together, thanks to a nationwide network of food banks, dedicated volunteers, and the monthly support of people like you, we can fill plates with nutritious food for kids facing hunger this summer.
One day my mother came over to my house and said, "There's a meeting at the pantry." I said, "Okay," and I went. There were some ladies in there. They were from the food bank. They asked several questions. Some of those were about me and my story, but it helped me to open up a little bit.
We're getting closer to the day when no one in America faces hunger, but we can't do it without you. Call or go online now. Visit helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. 98% of donations go directly to help millions of children facing hunger from coast to coast and in your own community. And when you give by credit card, we'll send you this exclusive canvas grocery bag to show you are a part of a movement of supporters working together to help end hunger.
I have people that I can trust. I have hope.
Please call now or make your monthly donation at helpfeedingamerica.org. Working together, we can end hunger in America.
I can't get a hold of my mom.
I'm sure it's nothing.
I've called her 5 times.
I'm sure she's fine.
Is Grandma okay? Help! I've fallen and I can't get up.
Don't worry, ma'am. We're sending help right now.
Hello?
Hello, this is Life Alert. Your mother had an emergency, and we dispatched paramedics to her home.
Oh my gosh, what happened?
She had a fall, but don't worry. She is safe, and the paramedics are helping her right now.
Thank you.
Life Alert saves a life every 11 minutes. With one simple touch of a button, Life Alert sends help immediately. Whether it's to report a fall, a medical emergency, or an intruder, Life Alert sends first responders fast.
For a free brochure, call 800-382-9846. 800-382-9846. That's 800-382-9846.
Now, weather update. Forecasters say flash flooding remains a threat along the Gulf Coast into the weekend. Forecasters say storms could repeatedly hit the same areas, dumping several inches of rain. Parts of southeastern Louisiana were hit hard yesterday, with up to 9 inches of rain flooding streets and homes. In New Orleans, city buildings closed and sandbag distribution sites opened as officials braced for flooding. Earlier in the week, the storm soaked Florida's Gulf Coast with nearly a foot of rain in the Tampa area. Meanwhile, the death toll from the Texas floods has risen to at least 135 after an additional death was reported in Travis County, Texas. This new information comes from Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who held a press conference yesterday. Here are the details.
I think it's the largest flood in the history of Texas.
Nearly 2 weeks after fatal flooding struck the area July 4th, multiple search and rescue groups are still navigating through thick debris to find victims. 2 rescuers were found spotted up to their thighs in mud as others assisted searching through debris. Others are seen digging on their knees next to a pile of broken tree branches. Among the dead, at least 116 people were from the Kerrville area.
More people lost their lives in Kerrville than those who lost their lives in Hurricane Harvey.
There's people in it.
Texans still reliving the catastrophic flooding.
It's just something that was beyond belief.
Scott and Katie Fineski run an all-boys camp along the Guadalupe River. They say they successfully evacuated 18 cabins on their campgrounds when the flooding started.
We were on the high ground screaming at the counselors to get their kids in the rafters.
They knew exactly what to do. They knew how to do it. They knew the path that they were going to go.
A different outcome than that at nearby Camp Mystic, where 27 campers and counselors perished. Officials say they're looking into how to prevent losses of life in the future.
We cannot bring them back. We cannot undo that. But what we can do is learn from it.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell is firing back at critics who have accused him of mismanaging the Fed's budget. Last week, the head of the Office of Management and Budget said Powell may have broken the law. The claim centers on whether he followed federal rules for renovating the Fed's headquarters. Yesterday, Powell said the $2.5 billion renovation and its financing have always had careful oversight from the central bank's board and its own watchdog. President Trump called the cost of the renovation disgraceful during a meeting with reporters this week. Trump said Wednesday he is not planning to fire Powell, but he kept the door open to the possibility. Powell's term is set to expire in May of next year. CBS says it's canceling the late night show with Stephen Colbert in May of next year, ending a staple of late night television. Colbert announced the news during yesterday's taping, telling the crowd, "This is all just going away." CBS executives say the decision was purely financial, not tied to ratings or Colbert's content. Still, the cancellation comes just days after Colbert criticized CBS's parent company Paramount for settling a Trump lawsuit tied to a 60-minute segment. Colbert's show leads its time slot and just earned another Emmy nomination this week. The U.S. Coast Guard has just offloaded more than $90 million worth of cocaine in St. Petersburg, Florida. The agency made the announcement yesterday. The drugs were seized over the course of 2 months. Their operation involved 6 vessel interceptions, including a sailing vessel, 1 fishing vessel, and 4 speedboats. In March, the Coast Guard offloaded more than $517 million worth of drugs at Florida's Port Everglades after a 3-month operation. That operation resulted in 35 alleged smugglers being detained. CEO Mark Zuckerberg, along with current and former directors of Meta, reached an agreement yesterday to close a privacy lawsuit. Shareholders accuse Facebook executives of failing to prevent massive user data breaches that cost the company billions. They said this led to scandals such as the misuse of Facebook user data by political consulting firm Cambridge Analytica. A settlement agreement was announced in Delaware's Court of Chancery yesterday. Terms of the agreement were not immediately disclosed. There won't be further courtroom proceedings. Coming up, former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro is seeking a meeting with President Trump. This after police raid his home, a mandatory ankle bracelet, and other restrictions ordered by a Brazilian court. Stay tuned.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health, my own mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I've never been more devastated than the day I lost my mom. I was depressed, miserable, in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. The chaos that was in me began to subside. I was more focused, clear. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. That's not up for debate. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
I don't remember how it started. Our back and forth. Victory. Fumble. Repeat. It always came back.
Okay, here we go, throw it.
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Nice.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had zero chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
Ukraine wants to step up peace talks with Russia. Moscow responds saying it welcomes the idea and that the Kremlin is interested in further negotiations as well. This after President Trump accused Russia of talking about peace without actually wanting it. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky took to X today, writing, "Intensify the negotiation track. This process needs more momentum." Russia responded to Zelensky's message, calling it a positive signal. A spokesperson for the Kremlin added that Moscow also thinks the negotiations should gain momentum. Russia and Ukraine already held 2 rounds of talks in Turkey earlier this year. They agreed to exchange prisoners of war and the remains of fallen soldiers. Those agreements were fulfilled for the most part, but the 2 sides didn't set a date for a new round of talks after the negotiations in Turkey. The European Union is set to impose further sanctions on Moscow. The bloc today agreed on the 18th package of sanctions against Russia over its war in Ukraine. This includes measures aimed at the Russian oil and energy industry. The bloc's foreign policy chief calls it one of the strongest set of sanctions against Kremlin yet. The EU will set a move pricing cap on Russian crude oil at 15% below its average market price, but it's not clear how effective this will be. So far, Russia managed to sell most of its oil by circumventing previous sanctions. Renewed clashes broke out overnight between armed Druze and members of Bedouin clans in southern Syria. Plumes of smoke and military vehicles were seen on the streets of Sueda today. A ceasefire agreement halted several days of violence earlier this week, but Syrian government forces were deployed to the area again after initially withdrawing. Israel had launched airstrikes in defense of the Druze before a pause in fighting. The U.S., Turkey, and Arab nations mediated the ceasefire. President Trump called Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to address an Israeli strike on Gaza's sole Catholic church. 3 people were killed and several others injured in the strike. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt addressed the issue yesterday. In a statement, Netanyahu said Israel deeply regrets that stray ammunition hit the church and that every innocent life lost is a tragedy. According to Israel's military, an inquiry found that shell fragments hit the church by mistake during operations. The military said the cause of the incident was under review. It also said the country did not target churches or religious sites. The Vatican said Netanyahu called Pope Leo today. During the call, the Pope renewed his appeal for a ceasefire and an end to the war in Gaza. Brazilian police raided the home and political headquarters of former President Jair Bolsonaro. A court also ordered Bolsonaro to wear an ankle bracelet and stop communications with his son, who is in exile in the U.S. Bolsonaro is now seeking the help of President Trump. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the story.
Brazilian police on Friday raiding the home and the political headquarters of former President Jair Bolsonaro. Police acted in compliance with an order from Brazil's Supreme Court, which conservatives say is biased against Bolsonaro. The order prohibits Bolsonaro from leaving the house at night, communicating with foreign ambassadors or diplomats, or approach embassies, using social media, and contacting other individuals under investigation by the Supreme Court, including his son, Eduardo Bolsonaro. Eduardo is a Brazilian lawmaker who currently lives in the United States in exile. Former President Bolsonaro is on trial at the Supreme Court. He's accused of leading an alleged attempt to stage a coup to overturn the 2022 election. The alleged coup attempt happened on January 8, 2023. On Thursday night, President Trump sent a letter to Bolsonaro, writing, "This trial should end immediately. I am very concerned about the attacks on free speech, both in Brazil and in the United States." On Friday, Bolsonaro, whose passport has been seized, said he'd like to meet with Trump.
If I had the passport, I would ask for an audience to visit Donald Trump. If he granted it, I would ask to talk about Brazil's issues.
President Trump recently imposed 50% tariffs on imports from Brazil, citing what he called a witch hunt against Bolsonaro. On Friday, Brazilian President Lula da Silva rejected what he called unacceptable blackmail. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
Coming up, one of the UK's original Victorian lavender fields wows today's visitors. Some travel from around the world to witness the spectacular colors. We have that and more when we come back.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Hi, I'm Ty Pennington, here for Choice Home Warranty. They protect my home from expensive repairs, and they can do the same for you. No matter if it's your refrigerator, plumbing, or more than 20 other home systems and appliances, Choice Home Warranty has saved millions of homeowners a whole lot of money. For a low monthly fee, you get their nationwide network of trusted local technicians with plans that cover repairs and replacements done quickly and the right way. No more headaches searching for technicians. No more budget-breaking chaos. Just a peace of mind of having Choice Home Warranty at your service. Call Choice Home Warranty now and save big with their special offer of your first month free and free limited roof coverage. Call now.
Call Choice Home Warranty for your free personalized quote and to get your first month free. Call in the next 5 minutes, and as our special offer, you'll receive free limited roof coverage. Call now to lock in your rate and save big. Call 800-210-6422. 800-210-6422.
President Trump is now in the Oval Office, soon to sign the Genius Act. Let's take a look.
It's been a lot of people thought it was impossible, some of the things that have been done. And of course, the great big, I added the word great, the great big beautiful bill, that was something that nobody thought possible. They thought it would be in anywhere from 7 to maybe 3, I'll go the opposite direction, but 3 to 7 different bills. And we said, Let's just put it in one, because this way there's something for everyone, and there really is. There's a lot of things for everyone. And when we get the word out how great that is for every single person in this country virtually, and all they have is a soundbite, death. You know what their soundbite is? Death. Aren't they nice, death? They are the most incompetent people. They've lost their confidence. They've lost everything, if you think about it. But Jasmine Crockett is on her way. She's on her way. She's the new star of the Democrat Party, Jasmine Crockett. They're in big trouble. But I have to tell you, that was great, and this was great. And I am so tired of making phone calls at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, getting calls from our great speaker. Sir, we have 12 hard no's. I say, Mike, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We have 12 hard no's. The good news is I'd call up. Hello, Jim. How are you? Sir, you have my vote. Boom. Sir, you have my vote. They just want a little love. Unfortunately, it's always the same. It's always the same 12 people. It's 5 senators and it's 12 congressmen. And I actually said to John Thune and I said to Mike, I said, listen, I want to have a party, but not to those people that I have to speak to endlessly every time. And they're wonderful because they always seem to come through, other than a couple. Rand Paul Jr. from the Congress and Rand Paul other than a few people. But I said, I want to have them over. We're going to have a party for everybody in Congress, everyone in Congress except 12. We're going to have, and Mike is, Tom, I'll tell you what, Tom is definitely coming. The whole group. Where are those 12 people? They're the only people I don't see. We could do it today. We don't have to vote. And I would say of the 53 senators, 48, we're going to have 48 in here. You won't even have to come to that one. But these are the greatest people because they always vote yes, and we don't have to go crazy. You trust us, we trust you. And it's been a very special group of people. We really do. I mean, 96% phenomenal. And 4% extremely difficult. Do you agree with that? But they get there, most of them, not all of them. Those are the ones we really don't like. But I want to thank you all for being here. This is really a big day. This afternoon, we take a giant step to cement American dominance of global finance and crypto technology as we sign the landmark Genius Act into law. So congratulations to everybody. This is a big deal. Come a long way since the Biden administration, when they had no idea what you were all talking about, and half of you were under arrest for no reason whatsoever. True, for no reason. And we want to have it, not China. China wasn't actually happy. They were watching this. They like it, and we've got this. We've got AI. We've got a lot of great ones happening, and this is a very big thing. And I want to thank the bill's author, Senator Bill Hagerty, a very good friend of mine. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Bill. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. He's a very handsome guy. Looks great. He's got the whole package. But, I got to know him. He was ambassador to Japan, and we had a little problem with Japan on trade. But he was my ambassador to Japan, and I went to Japan, and he is speaking fluently Japanese. I said, did you learn it as a child? No, I just learned it over the last 4 or 5 months. I said, you learned Japanese? Maybe the single hardest language to learn. It's actually breathing rather than, it's breathing. I'm not going to imitate it because we'll end up with a big story, and I don't want that. But he spoke totally fluent Japanese. I said, that's very impressive. And he was introducing me to Mr. Honda. I said, oh, are you in the car business? He goes, yes. I said, you're a very rich man. And then he said, Mr. Toyota, right? Toyota. And I said, what business are you in? Let me guess. He said, cars. He was my interpreter. And I was so impressed. And I was getting ready to leave. He said, sir, I'd like to run for the United States Senate. I said, where are you from? He said, Tennessee. I said, well, I love Tennessee, but do they know you there? No, but if you endorse me, I'll win, right? And I endorsed him, and he took a 48-point lead. and they didn't know who the hell he was. And he's turned out to be a great senator. And now they all know who you are. Yeah, so you're fantastic, and we thank you. And just the fact that you're doing this and you understand this is a complicated world, and you understand it, Bill. So you've been great. Thank you very much. We're also pleased to be joined by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. J.D., thank you very much. Good job. And he's been up speaking late at night on the phone. I said, J.D., how about you taking 3 or 4 of these people, please? Because 3 or 4 I cannot speak to. I just can't. And he'd take them and he'd come through, right, J.D.? Also, Speaker Mike Johnson. He is unbelievable. He's an unbelievable... I mean, if you go by what we're doing, if you keep at this pace, you can't keep it up for another 200 days. But I will tell you this, if you keep up this pace for another week, you go down as the greatest speaker in the House in history. So one more week. One more week. Who needs Tip O'Neill? Who needs Tip O'Neill? He's better looking than Tip O'Neill, too. But no, he's been going at a fervent pace. Would you say that's right? Your wife probably says, you are crazy. You've been aging beautifully at front. He's an amazing speaker, a great leader, and everybody likes him and respects him. And that's why we're with a very small majority, like 3. We had a time when we were 1. Remember? We said we're 1 heart attack away from losing the House. Then we won a couple of seats and a couple of other. Now we have 7, maybe if we're lucky, 7. But we win with, nobody's ever done, I don't think anyone's ever done this before, to win with those small. We had a little help from Tom, too, right, and a lot of other people. I want to introduce also Secretary Howard Lutnick, who's been fantastic. You have done a great job, Howard. We've got trade deals coming out of our ears, right? We had so many trade deals. They're all calling so many, and I really mean this too. It's like, how do you deal with so many? But, I always say when we send out the paper, that was a deal. They don't want the fake news doesn't want to hear that. When I send out the paper that you're paying 35 or 40% tariff, that's a deal. Then they'll call and see if they can make a little bit different kind of a deal, like opening up their country to trade. In some cases, they've never been opened. But we're doing well, and we have a couple of big ones to announce pretty soon, right? Could almost do it today. Maybe we'll say it. Maybe later on we'll do it. Senator Bernie Moreno, a great victory. Bernie had great victory. A great victory. That was one of the truly tough races. A lot of people weren't sure anybody could win that seat, and you won it in easy fashion, right? We won it together when you think of it. But you won it in easy fashion. You did a great job. Great guy. House Majority Whip. This is a great leader, Tom Emmer, a great politician and leader. Really good. And I like his wife even better. His wife is, she's the boss, but you are married to a fantastic woman, huh? And he knows that, and he likes hearing it, because some people don't, they say, sir, could you please stop saying that my wife is better than me, sir? Those are guys that don't usually end up with a good marriage, He's got a great marriage. So thank you, Tom. You really are a fantastic leader and representative. And Representatives Troy Downing, French Hill. Where's French Hill? Where is French? You have been so great. Thank you, French. I spoke to him a little late. He was walking down the hall. I said, French. He said, I'm there, sir. You are great, great, great guy. Everyone respects you, French. You know that. Bill Heisinger. Bill, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good job. Dan Muser. I thought he was going to become the next governor of Pennsylvania, but he likes Congress better, I guess, huh? So, but I think you're terrific, and, I would have always been behind you. That I can tell you. Tim Moore. Tim, thank you, Tim. John Rose. John? Hi, John, thanks. Good job. Brian Stile. Brian Stile. He's still young. Still nice and young. That's good. G.T. Thompson. G.T. Thank you. Andy Barr, good friend of all of ours. Thank you, Andy. Monica de la Cruz. Monica, she's here someplace. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Monica. Mike Haradopoulos. Mike, thank you, Mike. Look good. Mike Lawler, Mr. Salt. Well, it should guarantee your district. I mean, you worked hard for New York, right? And you're on television, I'm on television, so this should be good for a couple of points. But without you and your couple of friends from New York, that wouldn't have happened. That was not easy, right? Congratulations. Great job. Anna Paulina Luna. Anna, who is so great. I don't, even if she's here or not here, I want to tell you that she has been so great and worked so hard to make sure we got it approved. Ralph Norman. Ralph? Ralph? What happened to Ralph? Nick Begich. Nick, thank you, Nick. Good job. Good job. Good votes. I just saw a great poll on you, huh? Very good. Congratulations, Nick. Andy Ogles. Andy, who's a terrific friend. Beth Van Dyne. Beth, thank you, Beth. Great job. Thank you. Thank you very much for the great support. Roger Williams, a great baseball player, who also had to take a bullet, unfortunately, but he is a great guy. He was involved in that whole catastrophe, but he's fantastic and has been from day one, along with a lot of other people that I won't call out because I have no idea where the hell you are. I think I saw Jason here somewhere. Where's Jason? Oh, it's lucky I called him. Ooh, it's lucky. They didn't put your name because I invited you at the last moment, right? He was over there doing some business in the White House. But you've been incredible in your position. Nobody knows more about taxes and finance than you do, so we appreciate it, right? Is that true, Howard? It's true. Thanks, Jason. Great job. And you'll help out with that other matter. You make him so strong and powerful, right? Along with Deputy Secretary of Treasury, Michael Faulkender. Where's Michael? Good, Michael. How are you? Good. You'll help out over there, okay? And Ambassador Ken Howry. Ambassador? Thank you, Ken. Great job, Ken. I also want to recognize some of the countless industry leaders here today, including Brian Armstrong of Coinbase. You've done a good job, Brian. That's a big deal. Dave Ripley of Kraken. Dave. Thank you, Dave. Jeremy Allaire of Circle. This is a big day. Good job. Good job, Jeremy. Paolo Ardino of Tether. Paolo, thank you, Paolo. Ryan McInerney of Visa. That's a good company. Thank you. Chris Pavlovsky of Rumble. Chris, what happened to your location, Chris? You're always a front row guy. You're just being nice today, I think. How's Rumble doing? Good? Good. If Rumble's doing good, that means Truth is doing good. Truth. That's great. You're doing a great job. Thank you, Chris, very much. Vlad Tenev of Robinhood. Vlad, thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Vlad. Good. Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss. These are two smart, handsome guys. They got the whole package. They're of Gemini, but they have the whole pack. They're of a lot of things, actually, but Gemini's just the one for today, right? They've got the whole, they've got the look, they've got the genius, got plenty of cash, and it's great that you're on our side. You guys are great. I can never tell them apart, but their mother can. I asked, can your mother tell you apart? And the answer is yes, right? Easily, or is it tough for her? Easy, I figure. Good. You guys have been great. Thank you very much. Great to be with you. Let me say the entire crypto community, for years, you were mocked and dismissed and counted out. You were counted out as little as a year and a half ago. But this signing is a massive validation. And even before this signing, over the last year and a half, I think your stuff has gone up more than any stock, or just about more. A couple of stocks that were pretty good, I will say. But you have certainly, as an industry, gone up more than anybody. Nobody's gained the respect in such a short period of time. But this signing is a massive validation of your hard work and your pioneering spirit and your ability to never give up, because a lot of people would have given up 2-3 years ago. So I want to thank you for contributing to the incredible strength of America. This is going to make it stronger, and congratulations on this incredible achievement. You've made our dollar look really good and strong and powerful. It's good for the dollar, and it's good for the country. And that's why I backed you at an early stage, and I also did it for the votes, because you did come out and vote, I will tell you. And they changed tune, you know, Biden's team, they changed tune right in the middle of the campaign. All of a sudden, they loved you guys. They dropped all charges. They did have, I got you guys out of so much trouble. And you know what? I don't think anybody voted for them, right? Because you remember, they treated you very unfairly, actually. So it's a great honor that we were involved. And it was a tremendous amount of support that we got at the polls. We won, think of it, we won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won the popular vote. We won the districts by 2,750. Think of that, to 505. Different districts, too, by the way. Every once in a while, that number can change, but it doesn't change by much. The map was almost totally red, and you guys were with us right from the beginning. Exactly 1 year ago this month, many of you were with me in Nashville, Tennessee. Do you remember that day, right? That was a big day, Nashville, Tennessee, when I became the first presidential candidate ever to address the Bitcoin conference. And at this time, and at that time, crypto builders and founders were under relentless assault by the Biden administration, which was trying to crush your industry and crush you as people and go after your families. And they were a vicious group of people. You know, people don't realize it. They were vicious, incompetent, but vicious. Well, Joe was an incompetent guy, but he was always known as a vicious guy. I guess if you're going to be in that, you're probably off, if they're incompetent is better, right? Because you don't want to have a vicious guy that's competent. If you did, I wouldn't be standing here today, right? But I pledged that we would bring back American liberty and leadership and make the United States the crypto capital of the world, and that's what we've done. And under the Trump administration, this is only going further. You're going to do really well. I mean, I'm so proud of what you've done in the last couple of years. And very important, on day one, I remember I did this and I said this and I mentioned this name, and I got the greatest applause of the whole campaign. We fired Joe Biden's SEC chair, Gary Gensler. We fired him. But I remember I was making a speech, and it was just a line in a speech. And I said, and I will fire Gary Gensler. The place exploded. I said, I finished like one, and I said, what the hell did that guy do? There was a lot of hatred there, I'll tell you. And it turned out, as I got familiar with everything, it turned out you were absolutely right. In his place, I appointed a visionary chairman who wants America to build the future and not block the future. He's going to be unbelievable. He'll go down as one of the greats. And Paul Atkins, where are you, Paul Atkins? And Paul, the crypto guys, they said, everybody said, not only crypto, every industry, they all wanted Paul for the position. And he's a tough cookie, too. But they actually said, we don't care. We just think he's fair. All they wanted was fairness. And they have somebody that you're really a champion of the street and you're a champion of the country. You're going to do a fantastic job. I saw you interviewed the other night. I watched it about 2 o'clock in the morning. There was a little thing called C-SPAN, which I don't know how many people were watching. Don't worry, you were on primetime, too, but they happen to have a little rerun. I don't want to embarrass you. But fantastic job, really. You are absolutely so perfect for the job. Congratulations, Paul. And Paul is here today among the commissioners, various commissioners, including Hester Pierce and Mark Yoida. Hester and Mark Yoida. Thank you, Hester. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mark, wherever you may be. Is Mark here? Oh, stand up, Mark. I didn't... Good. Thank you. Good job. Good. I'm glad I gave you a second crack you didn't hear because of the thunderous applause for Hester. But thank you. I heard tremendous things about both of you. Thank you very much. My first week in office, I also established the first ever presidential working group on digital assets, and we have an executive director. Where's Bo Hines? Bo Hines. Right, Bo. And Bo is a great football player, right? Bo is a great football player, one of the better players in college football. So I know you from that also. See, who would think that I know that? I know a lot of things, Bo. But he was a champion player. I stopped the weaponization of government against crypto and Bitcoin, and we ended the lawless operation Choke Point 2.0. That was a bad operation. And I kept my promises to the community and granted a full presidential pardon to Ross Ulbricht. Ross Ulbricht. And you have no idea how important that name became. It was like a symbol, and his mother was unbelievable. His mother was an unbelievable woman, but it was so important to a certain group of people. And in the truly momentous act last March, I signed an executive order establishing the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, as well as the United States Digital Asset Stockpile. And that's all signed up. And with today's signing, we're pushing even further into the exciting new frontier. Just as I promised last year, the Genius Act creates a clear and simple regulatory framework to establish and unleash the immense promise of dollar-backed stable coins. This could be perhaps the greatest revolution in financial technology since the birth of the internet itself. A lot of people are saying that. I don't know. What do you guys think? Yes? If you say yes, I'm saying yes. I think it's great that you're involved, I will tell you. Many Americans are unaware that behind the scenes, the technical backbone of the financial system is decades out of date, many, many years out of date. You know that. Paul and others are straightening it out, but payments and money transfers are costly and take days or even weeks to clear. Under this bill, the entire ancient system will be eligible for a 21st century upgrade using the state-of-the-art crypto technology. Who would have thought we would have been saying that 2 years after I really met you for the first time? The Genius Act provides banks, businesses, and financial institutions a framework for issuing crypto assets backed one-for-one with real U.S. dollars, treasury bills, and other cash equivalents. It's really strengthening the dollar and giving the dollar great prominence. And, you know, you have this little group called BRICS. It's fading out fast. But BRICS is, they wanted to try and take over the dollar, the dominance of the dollar, and the standard of the dollar. And I said, anybody that's in the BRICS consortium of nations, we're going to tariff you 10%. And they had a meeting the following day, and almost nobody showed up. They said, leave me alone. They didn't want to be tariffed, did they, Howard? Huh? So it's amazing. No, we're not going to let the dollar slide. If we have a smart president, you're never going to let the dollar slide. If you have a dummy, that could happen. Like the last one, he would, if you ever asked him about the dollar sliding, he would have no idea. But we can't let that ever happen again. Consumers, vendors, and people all over the world will then be able to use those stable coins for ultra-low-cost transactions that are cleared and settled in a matter of seconds rather than weeks and months. And it's really an amazing thing. And with the privacy, flexibility, and decentralization of cash, this revolution has the potential to supercharge American economic growth and empower billions of people to save and transfer in U.S. dollars. It's really all backed by the dollars. It's really a great thing. And a lot of, you know, we had a lot of Democrat support. I have to tell you that. I was shocked anytime you get one but we had a tremendous amount of Democrat support, which we appreciate, and which just shows you that you're doing the right thing. This will increase demand for U.S. Treasuries, lower interest rates, and secure the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency for generations to come. The reserve currency is so important. You know, if we lost that, that would be like losing a world war. We can never let anyone play games with us, and that's why when I heard about this group from BRICS, 6 countries basically, I hit them very, very hard. And if they ever really form in a meaningful way, it will end very quickly, I will tell you, for them. They won't be gone very long. I don't think they'll even do it. They're virtually afraid to meet. I also remain fully committed to my pledge never to allow the creation of a central bank digital currency in America. It won't happen. My first. Thank you. And the other night, I will say, with some of the congressmen and women, they wanted that so badly. That was so important to them. I was impressed that they knew what the hell it was, to be honest with you. Please, sir, please, the central bank digital currency. Well, you have to make sure, sir. And I'm saying, what do you know about that? It's amazing the knowledge that people have gained all of a sudden. We had a lot of problems with some of them. I said, we've already got it from the Fed, right, from Commerce, and from an executive order. You don't need it a fourth time. Sir, we have to get it. It's amazing. But they knew their subject, though, didn't they, huh? And we helped them out. My first week in office, I signed an executive order to ban the creation of a CBDC in the United States, and very soon I look forward to signing legislation that will codify and ban make it a permanent law, put it in permanence. I'm also committed to signing landmark crypto market structure legislation this year to grow the industry. We're going to be growing it even more than people ever thought. It's a really hot industry. And for a little while, 2 nights ago, we were a little concerned because we were a little short on votes. Like, I would say maybe we were about 9 short. 9 short at 3 in the morning. We were about 4 short at 3:30 in the morning. And we were in good shape at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? But the people, and few people, have fought harder for the bill than we're signing than some of the people here today. You have been unbelievable. It's our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, who has done such a great job. And he has a show now. I've become a showman, but a couple of years ago, right? It's probably 2 years ago now in San Francisco, and I did his show, and I heard he's a very smart guy, and we had a great show. You've kept it going a lot longer, and is that still your highest rated ever show? Oh, he knows what to say. He knows what. He had a rating that he had millions and millions of people. He said, what's going on? But we had a great show, and I said, that guy's really smart. I said, if I get elected, I was running at that time, if I get elected, we're going to bring him into government in some ways. He's worth a fortune. He's made a lot of money. He's a very rich billionaire. But this is more important, isn't it? This is me too. It's like, doesn't matter. This is much. I know Howard and I talk about it all the time. Howard could go back to his wonderful brokerage firm, hire 1 or 2 people, and it's not the same as what you're doing, right? We're doing the biggest deals in the world. Actually, the deal we're doing now in tariffs is the biggest, when you add it up, the biggest deal ever made in history. It could be 1,000 IBMs. I mean, if you think of it, it's the biggest deal ever done. So it's hard to go back to a brokerage firm and, make $79,000 commission on the sale of a sock, right? It's true. But I want to ask David. So David's been fantastic. He's done an incredible job. And I'd like to ask David to come up, say a few words. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. All right, thank you, President Trump. It's a great honor to be here, and it's true that I'd never expected to work in government at all, and then everything changed after President Trump came on my podcast, and I accepted this job as crypto czar because I thought it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to work for a president who really wants to get things done for the American people, and if anything, that's been an understatement. The first 6 months of this administration have been more successful than any administration in American history. What's been done? It's just been incredible. President Trump has worked at tech speed. We're used to working fast in Silicon Valley, but even this is fast for us in Silicon Valley, the speed at which you move, President Trump. It's really incredible. And now today, you have another historic legislative achievement that is a monumental step to fulfilling your promise to making the United States the crypto capital of the world. This Genius Act will unlock American dominance in the crypto industry by creating clear rules of the road. It will update archaic payment rails with a revolutionary new payment system, And it will extend U.S. dollar dominance, like you said, globally, by creating a digital dollar that people all over the world can use. And for every digital dollar in a crypto wallet, there'll be a traditional dollar in a U.S. bank account, which will create trillions of dollars of demand for U.S. treasuries. So that is the power of this bill, is U.S. dollar dominance. This is a huge promise made and promise kept by President Trump. And there's just a few other people I'd like to thank. First, my family for being here. Thank you. And Bo Hines, who President Trump mentions, the director of our crypto council, he really did the heavy lifting here. So, Bo, I just want to thank you again. And my chief of staff, Tracy Johnson, as well, who also does the heavy lifting. And Bill Haggerty and French Hill and all the congressmen and senators who have already been mentioned by President Trump, so I'll save the time, but it was really been an honor to work with all of you. This was really a team effort, but most of all, I want to thank President Trump for accomplishing what nobody thought was possible. And it's true that just earlier this week, the media was reporting that this bill was dead. This bill was dead. And then the media didn't know one thing, that we had a secret weapon. We have a deal maker in chief. And thanks to President Trump, he stepped in and saved this bill. And it's because of your vision, your leadership, your determination, your skill that we're all here today. So thank you very much, President Trump. Thank you.
Is that Laura? Please come. Just come here. This is our superstar. She was the head of the Republican Party, and nobody complained about anything. We went on to great. This is Laura Trump, married to a young gentleman named Eric. They have beautiful 2 children, but she has been so good. She stepped into that position like it was nothing that we won, and she said, "Dad, I'd like to go home right now to my beautiful husband and my son and daughter, right? But you did a fantastic job, and you worked with a great gentleman, too. He's doing a fantastic job. But I just want to thank you. I just saw you standing back there. I wanted to bring her in. Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you. So under the Trump administration, I mean, I just got back from Saudi Arabia, and we went to Qatar. We went to a number of countries, and I will tell you the level of respect that this country has now is incredible. The UAE, I tell you what, we had a time there, but every leader said the same thing. They said 1 year ago, your country was dead. And they'd say it that way. It was like, I didn't know whether I was supposed to be happy or insulted, but the truth is we were in deep trouble. But they said 1 year ago, your country was dead, and today you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it's true. We have the hottest country in the world. We had a country, we were a laughingstock with the borders, people pouring in. Can you imagine last month, in the month of June, actually, 0. Now, I don't even believe that, 0, because you have hundreds of thousands pouring in, and then all of a sudden it's 0. But they have it down as 0. And very liberal people take that particular toll. It's a liberal group, so they're not giving us any favors. It's 0 people coming through our border. Can you imagine that? From literally hundreds of thousands and millions pouring in from all over the world. They came from all over the world. They came from prisons, jails. They came from mental institutions, gang members. There were gangs. They came from all over the place, from every country. They came from the Congo in Africa, a lot from the Congo. They came from South America. A lot came from Venezuela. They emptied their jails into our country. Can you imagine? They allowed that, emptied their jails into our country, and they let them walk right into our country like perfect. 11,888 committed murder. 50% committed more than one person. They murdered more than one person. 50% of 11,888. And we had murderers, and we're getting them out, and Tom Homan and Christie are doing a great job. That Tom Homan, I'll tell you, is he central casting or what? And he takes abuse, but they just keep fighting, and they're winning, and we're winning in the courts, and we're winning everywhere. But we've got the hottest country in the world, and you're a big part of it. So the golden age of America is upon us, and with today's signing, the future of crypto and the crypto industry, the U.S. dollar working together, because they really are hand in hand, is going to be stronger and bigger and better than ever before. And I just want to thank everybody, some tremendous people in this room. And maybe when I sign, I'll ask some of our great senators and congressmen to come on up. Some of the top crypto guys, please come on up, because you guys worked very hard on this. And we'll sign this, and we'll get on to the next battle, and we'll win. But we're winning all over the world right now. It's not even close, not even close, and we're going to keep it going. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you.
Hello, fellas. Can you all sit down, please? Thank you so much.
Sit down.
Win.
Down.
Sir.
You got it?
Can you sit down? Thank you so much.
This is not an auto pen, by the way, which is a big scandal. If that were a Republican, it would really be a big scandal. But it is one of the great scandals of our time. Thank you very much, everybody.
Into law the Genius Act. Trump says it's going to make America stronger and be beneficial to the U.S. dollar. The bill creates a regulatory framework for stablecoins and will help speed up consumer transactions. Trump also said he'll never allow a central bank digital currency to be created in the U.S. Coming up, an explosion kills 3 Los Angeles County Sheriff deputies. Local authorities provide more details following the blast. Stay with us.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-624-6556 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-624-6556. 1-800-624-6556. Call now.
All throughout your home, appliances and systems just wait for the worst time to break down and leave you with expensive repairs. Unless you have a plan from Choice Home Warranty.
All home appliances and systems have a breakdown clock, and when it expires, it will cost hundreds and potentially even thousands of dollars to fix or replace. That's why every homeowner should have a plan with Choice Home Warranty, like I do. For a low monthly fee, a Choice Home Warranty plan will cover your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, appliances, and more. Don't let an unexpected repair wreck your budget. With Choice Home Warranty, that covered repair is fixed or replaced for you.
Choice Home Warranty has been a great company to work with, and they've taken care of us. I would suggest anybody who lives in a home not to be in a home without him.
Avoid the ticking clock of home appliances and systems breaking down with a plan from Choice Home Warranty. Call now to get your first month free. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll give you $120 off your first year of coverage. That's $200 in total savings.
With a nationwide network of over 25,000 technicians, I don't worry about how my next breakdown will be handled. With a click of a button, my claim is filed, and Choice Home Warranty starts the clock. They do the legwork, hiring the right technician and handling the cost of covered repairs and replacements. And check this out. For a limited time, you can get 1 month of coverage free. Did you hear me? Free. You can't beat that deal with a sledgehammer. But hurry, this offer is ticking away. Once the clock hits 0, poof, it's gone.
Don't fear the breakdown clock. Get a plan from Choice Home Warranty and get round-the-clock money-saving protection you can count on. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll give you $120 off your first year of coverage, plus get your first month free. This offer won't last long.
Get your home protected. Call now.
Don't wait for an appliance or system to break down. Call before that happens.
Call 800-983-3523. 800-983-3523.
The Trump administration highlights 300,000 arrests and deportations this year. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem showcased the, quote, worst of the worst cases in Tennessee while visiting Nashville. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
They're the worst of the worst. And America is safer because they're off of our streets, because of the work of the individuals behind me, but all of the agents and officials within HSI and ICE.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem gives updates on her department's efforts to curb illegal immigration.
Since President Trump has taken office, we have arrested almost 300,000 and more criminals and illegal aliens here in the United States of America and brought them to justice and deported them out of our country.
Noem says that 70% of them have been convicted of criminal charges or have criminal charges pending.
Overwhelmingly, the families that live in this country are thrilled to have these people off of their streets.
Noem gave details on some of the individuals they have arrested.
In February, HSI Nashville arrested a 35-year-old Venezuelan charged with homicide after he stabbed his own wife to death. In January, HSI Nashville here arrested a 22-year-old Guatemalan who was an illegal alien here in this country. The charges against this individual count 3 charges of child rape, sexual exploitation of a minor, and identity theft.
Secretary Noem also said that her department is having issues with the mayor of Nashville.
Mayor Freddie O'Connell has gone after our ICE individuals and agents that work with HSI. He's openly doxed them, revealed their information to the public, encouraged people to work against them in their efforts to clean up the streets of Nashville, and he has forced his city officials, his employees of the city of Nashville, to document every single interaction that they have with federal immigration authorities.
Noem also explained a pile of items that were in front of her during the press conference.
When you look at the table in front of me, these are all drugs and guns that have been taken off of the streets from this office and this area, this state, that are no longer out there killing our children, that are no longer out there perpetuating drug addiction and splitting up families and conducting violence on the streets.
And on Thursday, the White House commented on the possibility of reopening Alcatraz prison in San Francisco to house criminals again.
Just to follow up, Libby, on who the president wants to see housed in Alcatraz, the worst of the worst criminals in this country, both American criminals who convict heinous crimes, but also illegal alien criminals before deportation as well.
Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
The U.S. Coast Guard has just offloaded more than $90 million worth of cocaine in St. Petersburg, Florida. The agency made the announcement yesterday. The drugs were seized over the course of 2 months. Their operation involved 6 vessel interceptions, including a sailing vessel, 1 fishing vessel, and 4 speedboats. In March, the Coast Guard offloaded more than $517 million worth of drugs at Florida's Port Everglades after a 3-month operation. That operation resulted in 35 alleged smugglers being detained. The House of Representatives has had a busy week legislating, with a trio of bipartisan bills, a rescissions package, and the largest of the 12 appropriations bills. Our Washington correspondent, Luis Eduardo Martinez, has the details.
House Republican leadership had a successful so-called crypto week and passed 3 bills: the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, and the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. All 3 bills help create a clear framework to regulate digital currencies in the United States.
For far too long, America's digital assets industry has been stifled by ambiguous rules, confusing enforcement, and the Biden administration's anti-crypto crusade. But President Trump and this Congress are correcting course.
The Genius Act sets nationwide rules for digital assets tied to the U.S. dollar. The Clarity Act establishes clearly which digital assets are considered securities and which are considered commodities. And the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act bans the Federal Reserve from creating digital assets.
It was about learning together. And so when I look at the board and I see on Clarity 78 Democrats, and on Genius coming over from the Senate, 102 Democrats supported Genius. This is about bicameral, bipartisan leadership for who? For the American people and for American innovation.
The House of Representatives also passed a $9 billion rescissions package, which now heads to the president's desk.
We clawed back $9 billion in taxpayer funds and wasteful spending, fraud, waste, and abuse. We've been targeting that every area. This was directed to wasteful spending in the previous State Department, of course, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and a couple of other areas. We looked at that. We thought it was a waste of taxpayer funds, and we're taking care of business.
The House of Representatives initially intended to pass a $9.4 billion rescissions package, but faced a July 18th deadline to pass the Senate's version or be forced to disburse the already appropriated funds.
Any cuts are better than no cuts. And the fact of the matter is, this is the low-hanging fruit. In a modern world with internet and streaming, we don't need to be funding PBS and NPR, let alone with debt financing. And we shouldn't be sending money all over the world to do silly things that don't benefit the American people.
The House of Representatives also passed their version of the Defense Appropriations Bill, a total of $832 billion, a bill that does not increase defense spending but does reprioritize a pay raise for enlisted personnel and refocuses funds for missile defense systems. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
To talk further about the rescissions package as well as the recently signed Genius Act, we're bringing in Jason Sorens, Senior Research Fellow at the American Institute for Economic Research. So Jason, thank you for joining us. First off, can you break down the Genius Act for us and what it means for the future of digital assets and cryptocurrencies?
The Genius Act provides a regulatory framework for stablecoins, which are cryptocurrencies that are convertible into a national currency at a specified rate. Right, so a lot of these are pegged to the dollar. So 1-to-1, 1 unit of that dollar pegged stablecoin equals $1. And they're useful because they allow people to convert easily between national currencies and cryptocurrencies. This regulatory framework provides more certainty so that a future administration is not going to be able to legally go after these stablecoins. But it does increase the regulations that they face. For instance, banning interest payments and requiring 100% reserves of low-risk assets backing those stablecoins.
So how significant would you say is the signing of this act into law?
It's quite significant because this is the first time that the federal government has provided a regulatory framework for cryptocurrency. And this is something that cryptocurrency companies sought. Despite the fact that it increases regulation on them, it reduces the uncertainty that there will be much more regulation and indeed criminalization potentially in the future of these products. And so this is creating a market that is going to be quite valuable. Again, stablecoins are useful for converting between currencies and cryptocurrencies. They're not really an asset that you want to hold on to because they're sort of like a checking account, an electronic checking account. But it is something that could be quite important for our financial system.
So President Trump was earlier saying that this act is going to make America stronger. Can you talk to us in the context of the importance of this act in making America a world leader in this issue?
Well, cryptocurrency is a new financial technology, and it has definitely a number of potential benefits. For instance, helps investors hedge against currency risk, helps investors, again, undertake electronic transactions quickly and easily. So, I think President Trump wants the U.S. to be a leader on a number of these technologies. This is an area where the Biden administration was very skeptical. In general, the Biden administration did not like financial innovation and wanted to regulate the financial sector strictly. So this is a move away from that toward allowing more financial innovation with the idea that this is going to benefit investors and ultimately the economy.
So you mentioned the Biden administration. This Genius Act received bipartisan support this time, with many Democrats joining Republicans to back the rules. But this wasn't the case last year when the Democrat-led Senate failed to take up similar stablecoin bill. So why the change now, by your analysis?
That's right. And I think what we've seen is that a large number of Democrats do support this legislation, but not the majority of them. And the Biden administration had a more kind of Elizabeth Warren style, kind of ideological hostility to financial innovation, with the idea that financial innovators are going to take advantage of investors and consumers. And they saw themselves as protecting the average American by clamping down on these technologies. But what we found out, especially in the election, is that a lot of Americans, especially young Americans, are quite enthusiastic about being able to participate in these markets. And that was a significant base of Republican support in the last election. So I think a lot of Democrats saw that, and they want to be part of this wave of the future.
Also, Jason, I wanted to talk to you about the package approved this morning of $9 billion in spending cuts. So the package removes roughly $8 billion from foreign and other programs, aid programs, for example, another $1.1 billion from the corporation for broadcasting, public broadcasting. So, Jason, how important is this? Was it important that Trump got these cuts?
It's incredibly important because you saw that DOGE went in and canceled a bunch of contracts and tried to stop a bunch of spending. But legally speaking, they're not able to do that unless Congress authorizes it. So these agencies would still have to spend this money before the end of the fiscal year. And a number of courts, in fact, stepped in and forced the federal government to rehire workers and honor contracts and things like that. So this is important because it now makes those budget cuts law. And I think what you found is that the system worked as it's intended. Congress went in, they looked at the DOGE cuts, they found the ones that actually made sense, and those are the ones that they authorized. So, some of the scare stories about, no more funding for, stopping AIDS and HIV prevention, those stories are no longer relevant because those cuts were not authorized. Instead, they really took a scalpel here and cut out the wasteful programs. I think PBS and NPR have been the chopping block for a long time for Republicans. They lean so far left, and there's really no rationale for the taxpayer to be funding ideological media in the landscape that we have today.
So, with $37 trillion, $36 trillion in debt, does this package go far enough in terms of cutting spending? What more should be done to lower the national debt?
Yeah, we absolutely need more spending cuts, and I think there will be more rescission packages that come up for votes. I certainly hope so. After all, DOGE was active throughout the federal government. There are other agencies that had a number of wasteful programs. And Congress does need to act to, again, defund the waste, fraud, and abuse, and to get our debt under control. And, when we look at these sort of what we call discretionary spending, we're not going to get the debt under control simply by cutting discretionary spending. We have to look at entitlements eventually. But it is very important to start somewhere. And this is some of the low-hanging fruit to kind of get the federal government under control.
But, Jason, some are saying that the spending cuts, specifically foreign aid, these programs are essential for U.S. soft power. What is your analysis?
Well, soft power is kind of a soft concept. It's really elastic. What does that mean? How do we measure that? What value does that actually provide to the American taxpayer? I'm open to the proposition that there may be some aid programs that are critically important to American defense. But when we look at how foreign aid actually works, it often doesn't even benefit the recipients. A lot of these programs, the money ends up being taken by public agencies and recipient countries. They become dependent on that money. They're not necessarily very efficient. They may have corruption in those programs. It makes them less accountable to their own people, because they're deriving less of their money from taxing their own people and deriving more of it in foreign aid. So on balance, on average, foreign aid is actually a negative, not just for the U.S. taxpayer, but for a lot of recipients. And so this is an area that we definitely need to find efficiencies in.
So, Jason, earlier you were saying that we might see more spending cuts, more rescissions packages. Will that take money out of the U.S. economy in an extension? Will that slow down the U.S. economy?
No, because at the end of the day, what you are doing is returning money to the taxpayer. So we need to remember that your actual tax burden is really determined by federal spending and not what federal taxes are right now here today. Because we all know that that growing federal debt is going to have to be paid back by U.S. taxpayers. And with interest rates, especially where they are now, and interest on the debt rising, that future tax burden is rising. And that discourages investment, it discourages work. There's some evidence it discourages people even from having kids because they know that the future is going to be worse in terms of what people are going to have to pay back to the government. So to get a handle on that, to get a handle on that debt, we need to cut federal spending, and that is ultimately going to put money back in the hands of the U.S. taxpayer, and that should help the economy. It's going to lead people to be more confident about investing, about working, about earning higher incomes. That is going to benefit the U.S. economy.
Okay, Jason, just one last thing. Earlier, you mentioned discretionary spending. If you look at the U.S. budget, between mandatory and discretionary, mandatory far outweighs discretionary, right? So how can you cut? Where do you even cut?
That's right. So these are your so-called entitlement programs. Social Security and Medicare are the two biggest ones by far. The Social Security, actually, you can solve with some pretty easy future-oriented reforms like stopping wage indexing of benefits. This is a fairly obscure thing, but it's very important to benefit payments, decades from now. And if we want to get a handle on that, we can start reforming that now. Medicare, one of the problems there is that we have a kind of old-fashioned health insurance model for Medicare where you're paying doctors per procedure that they do and per test that they run. And that's very inefficient. We should move to something more like a capitation system where we're paying them per patient and doctors are rewarded if they keep their patients healthy, but we're not giving them an incentive to run more procedures and tests. So we definitely need to get spending in those areas under control. I think we can do that without excessive pain to beneficiaries.
Well, okay, Jason, it's always great to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up, an explosion kills 3 Los Angeles County Sheriff deputies. Local authorities provide more details following the blast. Stay with us.
My 15-year-old son, Ethan, and I had a fun and relaxing morning. We returned home, and Ethan walked to his best friend's house an hour later. I heard the ambulance scream by the street, carrying my beautiful boy. Ethan was shot in the head in his best friend's house with an unsecured gun. He had 0 chance of survival. The father, the gun owner, he stored his 3 guns and bullets in a shoebox.
How do you feel?
That has to be the most horrific experience that a human could ever have.
David, would you give any advice?
First thing you do is not keep your ammunition with your weapons, and that your weapons need to be locked at all times.
I debate all day. It's what I do. But there are some things that are undebatable, like your mental health. my own mental health. I was in a dark place when my brother passed away in a car accident. I've never been more devastated than the day I lost my mom. I was depressed, miserable, in ways I never imagined. I reached out, and my sisters came, my pastor, my therapist. They helped me get through it. I found that the more I spoke up, the healthier my mind became. The chaos that was in me began to subside. I was more focused, clear. When you love your mind, you can go so much further. That's not up for debate. Find mental health resources at loveyourmindtoday.org.
Three Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies are dead after an explosion at a police training center in East Los Angeles. A large response team arrived on the scene shortly after the blast.
This morning, shortly after 7:30 a.m., an explosion occurred at our Special Enforcement Bureau. Arson Explosives Detail facility located in the 1000 block of Northeastern Avenue in East Los Angeles, which is right behind this hill. Tragically, there were 3 sworn members who were fatally killed that were assigned to our Arson Explosives Detail. No other department members were injured or transported to any hospitals. This is, unfortunately, the largest loss of life for us as the LA County Sheriff's Department since 1857. Between all 3 sworn members, they had served our community proudly for 74 years, and that's amongst all 3 of them collectively. 19 years, 22 years, and 33 years. And at this point, we are not giving out their names. One of the reasons it took me a while to get out here, one of my priorities is the families of our deputies. And I've met with several of them this morning. There are still others who are on their way. There are others who have not been notified. The last thing I want to do is them to turn on the news and find out that way. So thank you for respecting that at this point. My second priority were our employees. Our employees are hurting right now. Members of our Special Enforcement Bureau, other members of our arson detail as well, Arson Explosives Detail. In regards to the details of what happened, I'm going to give you what I have right now. There's a lot more that we don't know than what we do know. But our intent is to look at this from the very beginning and figure out what is it exactly that caused this tragic event. Currently, our homicide detectives are on scene, and they are investigating the deaths that are we are being assisted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who are investigating the post-blast portion of this incident. You have seen other vehicles other than FBI. You've seen the ATF here. They will be assisting the FBI as well. I am very grateful to the bomb squad of the Los Angeles Police Department, and I mentioned Chief Jim McDonald standing behind me here. They immediately came out to assist after this explosion occurred to render the devices safe. And just so all of you know, they were just rendered safe within the last minutes, right before we walked out here. So it was still an active scene. It wasn't stable, and definitely a very active crime scene as we go forward. At this time, we do not know the cause of the explosion. However, the specific area has been closed off due to the ongoing investigation. We believe there is no threat to this community. Actually, I could tell you there is no threat to this community. This is an isolated incident. And again, no threats. We have road closures, Eastern Boulevard between Blatchard Street and Lotta Drive. And again, I do want to thank all of our local partners, our local elected officials that are here to help us get through this very difficult time. We have our Psychological Services Bureau personnel on scene that are assisting our employees at this moment, along with peer counseling and chaplain services. And as I said earlier, I have met with 2 of the 3 families thus far. And as you can imagine, those were extremely challenging conversations.
Multiple employees and deputies were evacuated from the area. The circumstances surrounding the explosion remain unclear. The training center serves as the base for the bomb squad, housing all of its equipment and vehicles. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has not released any additional details. An investigation into the blast is ongoing. Attorney General Pam Bondi posted on X, quote, "Our federal agents are at the scene and we are working to learn more. Please pray for the families of the sheriff's deputies killed." And soon the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is going to hold a news conference on this. The Department of Agriculture says it has fired 70 foreign contract researchers. The firings follow a national security review to secure the U.S. food supply from adversaries including China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced a farm security plan on July 8th. The plan includes efforts to bar purchases of U.S. farmland by foreign nationals from the 4 countries. Any existing research agreements with them would be terminated. Rollins said the moves were necessary to secure the U.S. food supply. A government union official said most of those dismissed were Chinese postdoctoral researchers on 2-year contracts with the agency. The well-known $1.50 hot dog and soda combo is changing at Costco. Instead of Pepsi drinks, shoppers will now get to choose Coca-Cola products. In January, Costco's CEO said it would switch its food court fountain business back over to Coca-Cola. People said they've already noticed the changes across different locations in a gradual rollout. The complete Coca-Cola swap is expected to be completed by this fall. Costco used to sell Coca-Cola products but switched to Pepsi in 2023 to maintain its $1.50 hot dog combo. Coming up, a Wells Fargo employee went to China but is now restricted from leaving the country. We have that and more after the break.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
I'm Jonathan Lawson. If you're 50 to 85, please listen closely. The lock I want to talk to you about isn't the one on your door. It's a rate lock for your life insurance that guarantees that once you're insured, your rate can never go up at any time for any reason. Many policies you see don't have one, but you can get a lifetime rate lock from Colonial Penn. This plan was designed for people on a fixed income with coverage options that start at $9.95 a month. That's less than 35 cents a day. Your rate is locked in for life. Coverage can never be canceled, and your acceptance is guaranteed. You cannot be turned down because of your health. See for yourself. Call for an information kit and gift. Both are free with no obligation.
Call 1-800-624-6556 for your free information and your free gift. That's 1-800-624-6556. 1-800-624-6556. Call now.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. An explosion kills 3 Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputies. Local authorities provide more details following the blast. The worst criminal illegal aliens, according to the Department of Homeland Security, were highlighted in Nashville. Jason Blair has the details. The House of Representatives has passed a trio of bills this week with bipartisan support to regulate digital assets. A Brazilian court orders former President Jair Bolsonaro to wear an ankle bracelet as police raid his home and his political headquarters. This comes less than a day after President Trump sent a letter to Bolsonaro. The Department of Agriculture fires 70 foreign contract researchers. The firings come follow a review to protect the U.S. food supply.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon, and thanks for staying with us. The House of Representatives has had a busy week legislating, with a trio of bipartisan bills, a rescissions package, and the largest of the 12 appropriations bills. Our Washington correspondent, Luis Eduardo Martinez, has the details.
House Republican leadership had a successful so-called crypto week and passed 3 bills: the Genius Act, the Clarity Act, and the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. All 3 bills help create a clear framework to regulate digital currencies in the United States.
For far too long, America's digital assets industry has been stifled by ambiguous rules, confusing enforcement, and the Biden administration's anti-crypto crusade. But President Trump and this Congress are correcting course.
The Genius Act sets nationwide rules for digital assets tied to the U.S. dollar. The Clarity Act establishes clearly which digital assets are considered securities and which are considered commodities. And the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act bans the Federal Reserve from creating digital assets.
It was about learning together. And so when I look at the board and I see on Clarity 78 Democrats, and on Genius, coming over from the Senate, 102 Democrats supported Genius. This is about bicameral, bipartisan leadership for who? For the American people and for American innovation.
The House of Representatives also passed a $9 billion rescissions package, which now heads to the president's desk.
We clawed back $9 billion in taxpayer funds and wasteful spending. Fraud, waste, and abuse. We've been targeting that every area. This was directed to wasteful spending in the previous State Department, of course, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and a couple of other areas. We looked at that. We thought it was a waste of taxpayer funds, and we're taking care of business.
The House of Representatives initially intended to pass a $9.4 billion rescissions package, but faced a July 18th deadline to pass the Senate's version or be forced to disburse the already appropriated funds.
Any cuts are better than no cuts. And the fact of the matter is, this is the low-hanging fruit. In a modern world with internet and streaming, we don't need to be funding PBS and NPR, let alone with debt financing. And we shouldn't be sending money all over the world to do silly things that don't benefit the American people.
The House of Representatives also passed their version of the Defense Appropriations Bill, a total of $832 billion, a bill that does not increase defense spending but does reprioritize a pay raise for enlisted personnel and refocuses funds for missile defense systems. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
The Trump administration highlights 300,000 arrests and deportations this year. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem showcased the, quote, worst of the worst cases in Tennessee while visiting Nashville. NTD correspondent Jason Blair reports.
They're the worst of the worst. And America is safer because they're off of our streets, because of the work of the individuals behind me, but all of the agents and officials within HSI and ICE.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem gives updates on her department's efforts to curb illegal immigration.
Since President Trump has taken office, we have arrested almost 300,000 and more criminals and illegal aliens here in the United States of America and brought them to justice and deported them out of our country.
Noem says that 70% of them have been convicted of criminal charges or have criminal charges pending.
Overwhelmingly, the families that live in this country are thrilled to have these people off of their streets.
Noem gave details on some of the individuals they have arrested.
In February, HSI Nashville arrested a 35-year-old Venezuelan charged with homicide after he stabbed his own wife to death. In January, HSI Nashville here arrested a 22-year-old Guatemalan who was an illegal alien here in this country. The charges against this individual count 3 charges of child rape, sexual exploitation of a minor, and identity theft.
Secretary Noem also said that her department is having issues with the mayor of Nashville.
Mayor Freddie O'Connell has gone after our ICE individuals and agents that work with HSI. He's openly doxed them, revealed their information to the public, encouraged people to work against them in their efforts to clean up the streets of Nashville, and he has forced his city officials, his employees of the city of Nashville, to document every single interaction that they have with federal immigration authorities.
Noem also explained a pile of items that were in front of her during the press conference.
When you look at the table in front of me, these are all drugs and guns that have been taken off of the streets from this office and this area, this state, that are no longer out there killing our children, that are no longer out there perpetuating drug addiction and splitting up families and conducting violence on the streets.
And on Thursday, the White House commented on the possibility of reopening Alcatraz prison in San Francisco to house criminals again.
Just to follow up, Libby, on who the president wants to see housed in Alcatraz, the worst of the worst criminals in this country, both American criminals who convict heinous crimes, but also illegal alien criminals before deportation as well.
Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
The U.S. Coast Guard has just offloaded more than $90 million worth of cocaine in St. Petersburg, Florida. The agency made the announcement yesterday. The drugs were seized over the course of 2 months. The operation involved 6 vessel interceptions, including a sailing vessel, 1 fishing vessel, and 4 speedboats. In March, the Coast Guard offloaded more than $517 million worth of drugs at Florida's Port Everglades after a 3-month operation. That operation resulted in 35 alleged smugglers being detained. A federal judge in Massachusetts today is weighing whether or not to alter his nationwide injunction on President Trump's limitations to birthright citizenship. The hearing comes after the Supreme Court recently ruled that nationwide injunctions likely exceed authority. NTD's Arlene Richards has more.
Plaintiffs, 19 states, and the District of Columbia, as well as 2 nonprofit organizations, asked the federal judge on Friday to keep his sweeping nationwide injunction in place. In February, Massachusetts District Court Judge Leo Sorokin issued a nationwide block on President Trump's executive order that limits automatic birthright citizenship. Sorokin had said that the plaintiffs are likely to prevail on their claims at trial. But the Supreme Court recently ruled the injunction could be overturned if it is broader than necessary to provide complete relief to each plaintiff with standing to sue. The majority ruled that universal injunctions issued by several lower courts across the country likely exceed the powers given them by Congress. Plaintiffs' attorneys argued on Friday that the sweeping injunction issued by Sorokin was the correct ruling because it provides complete relief. They say the government didn't offer any alternative remedies that would completely redress their alleged harms. Therefore, the court's ruling was not broader than necessary. The government countered that the plaintiffs are missing the point of the Supreme Court's ruling, which is that a judge's ruling can only benefit the plaintiffs named in the lawsuit. They further argue that the plaintiffs have improperly suggested that the government should recommend alternatives when it is their responsibility to explain why a universal injunction is necessary. The judge didn't make a ruling on Friday. He has taken the new arguments under advisement. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
The Department of Agriculture says it has fired 70 foreign contract researchers. The firings follow a national security review to secure the U.S. food supply from adversaries including China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins announced a farm security plan on July 8th. The plan includes efforts to bar purchases of U.S. farmland by foreign nationals from 4 countries, including the ones I mentioned. Any existing research agreements with them would be terminated. Rollins said the moves were necessary to secure the U.S. food supply. A government union official said most of those dismissed were Chinese postdoctoral researchers on 2-year contracts with the agency. Coming up, the head of the Federal Reserve is coming to his own defense over the handling of a $2 billion renovation and its financing. Stay tuned.
All throughout your home, appliances and systems just wait for the worst time to break down and leave you with expensive repairs. Unless you have a plan from Choice Home Warranty.
All home appliances and systems have a breakdown clock, and when it expires, it will cost hundreds and potentially even thousands of dollars to fix or replace. That's why every homeowner should have a plan with Choice Home Warranty, like I do. For a low monthly fee, a Choice Home Warranty plan will cover your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, appliances, and more. Don't let an unexpected repair wreck your budget. With Choice Home Warranty, that covered repair is fixed or replaced for you.
Choice Home Warranty has been a great company to work with, and they've taken care of us. I would suggest anybody who lives in a home not to be in a home without them.
Avoid the ticking clock of home appliances and systems breaking down with a plan from Choice Home Warranty. Call now to get your first month free. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll give you $120 off your first year of coverage. That's $200 in total savings.
With a nationwide network of over 25,000 technicians, I don't worry about how my next breakdown will be handled. With a click of a button, my claim is filed, and Choice Home Warranty starts the clock. They do the legwork, hiring the right technician and handling the cost of covered repairs and replacements. And check this out. For a limited time, you can get 1 month of coverage free. Did you hear me? Free. You can't beat that deal with a sledgehammer. But hurry, this offer is ticking away. Once the clock hits 0, poof, it's gone.
Don't fear the breakdown clock. Get a plan from Choice Home Warranty and get round-the-clock money-saving protection you can count on. Call in the next 10 minutes and we'll give you $120 off your first year of coverage, plus get your first month free. This offer won't last long.
Get your home protected. Call now.
Don't wait for an appliance or system to break down. Call before that happens. Call 800-983-3523. 800-983-3523.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
For today's Business Matters, candy maker Mars has left a bad taste with Texas Attorney General. Ken Paxton has launched an investigation into the M&M maker's alleged refusal to remove synthetic food dyes from its products. Paxton is demanding documents from the family-owned confectioner to see whether it violated consumers' rights through deceptive trade practices. In a statement, the Skittles maker said it is actively exploring product alternatives to meet scientific safety criteria and consumer preferences. And OpenAI has teamed up with Alphabet's Google Cloud to expand its computing capacity. Google now appears on an updated list of suppliers published on the ChatGPT maker's website. The AI giant also relies on services from Microsoft, Oracle, and CoreWeave. The addition of Google underscores the massive computing demand needed to train and deploy AI models. This is also OpenAI's latest move to diversify its suppliers beyond its major supporter, Microsoft. PepsiCo is feeling bubbly after better-than-expected quarterly results. The soda and snack maker has previously warned that consumer uncertainty could be a drag on its business. But revenue rose about 1%, driven by steady demand in the US and other major markets, including Europe. Analysts were projecting a decline of about 1%. To stay competitive, Pepsi has responded to a shift in consumer demand for healthier options. It also closed facilities to match lower demand in the snacks category. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is firing back at critics who have accused him of mismanaging the Fed's budget. Last week, the head of the Office of Management and Budget said Powell may have broken the law. The claim centers on whether he followed federal rules for renovating the Fed's headquarters. On Thursday, Powell said a $2.5 billion renovation and its financing have always had careful oversight from the central bank's board and its own watchdog. President Trump called the cost of the renovation disgraceful during a meeting with reporters this week. Trump said Wednesday he is not planning to fire Powell, but he kept the door open to the possibility. Powell's term is expected to expire in May of next year. President Donald Trump said on Wednesday that Coca-Cola had agreed to use real cane sugar instead of corn syrup in its beverages in the U.S. Trump's announcement comes after he said he had discussions with the company. Here's more.
Donald Trump is not happy with his Coca-Cola, and he's doing something about it. The US president says he's persuaded the company to change the recipe for its famous drink. Trump says executives have agreed to use cane sugar in the US instead of corn syrup. "You'll see," he said in a social media post, "it's just better." Medical experts say there's no real health advantage in cane sugar. However, a panel convened by Trump has said corn syrup could play a role in childhood obesity and other conditions. Nutritionists generally just advise limiting the intake of all sugars. Now, US farmers may not be happy about any change. A corn industry body said a move to avoid syrup could cost thousands of American jobs. It said the result would be more imports of sugar for no health benefit. Coca-Cola said it would share details on new offerings soon, and thanked Trump for his interest in its products. Whenever a change comes, the president seems sure to be ready with a taste test.
China's Commerce Minister has foreign investment on the mind as U.S. computer chip restrictions ease. The ministry released a statement after Wang Wentao met with NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. It said that Wentao told Huang he hopes multinational companies like NVIDIA will provide high-quality and reliable products and services to the Chinese consumers. It also said Huang described the Chinese market as very attractive and said NVIDIA was willing to deepen cooperation in AI. In a separate statement, the ministry said that the U.S. said it would approve sales of NVIDIA's H20 chip to Chinese customers. NVIDIA is also working on a new chip for Chinese clients that would be compliant with U.S. export restrictions. Overall travel demand has slumped, but the airline earnings revealed that the affluent continue to take to the skies, while the less wealthy have been grounded. Here's more.
The main cabin is experiencing a bit more turbulence than the front of the plane. Airline executives say premium cabins have become the profit differentiator in the industry. Delta Airlines just reported a 5% year-on-year jump in premium ticket revenue in its second quarter. Compare that to a 5% decline in main cabin revenue. This trend is backed by data from Bank of America. It found spending by middle and higher income households held up last month, but lower income household spending turned negative. This has put pressure on discount carriers. Low-fare carrier JetBlue Airways warned staff about new cost-cutting measures and said that breaking even on its operating margin this year would be unlikely. At the same time, Frontier and Spirit Airlines are aggressively slashing flights. Since premium travelers have proven to be less price-sensitive, More airlines, including budget carriers, are adding premium seats. But this increases the risk of causing a supply glut.
Consumer sentiment inched higher this month. A survey just released by the University of Michigan puts the economic indicator at 61.8. That's roughly in line with economists' expectations of 61.5. It's a 5-month high, but it has not recovered from the decline spurred by tensions over U.S. tariffs. Compared to December, sentiment is down about 16%. Survey respondents also dialed down their expectations for inflation in the year ahead, dropping to 4.4% from 5% in June. A new exit ban on a Wells Fargo employee in China has renewed fears for foreign businesses about doing business in the country. Here's more.
Mixed signals coming from the world's second largest economy about doing business there. China has been trying to attract foreign companies by promoting itself as business friendly. But at the same time, news has surfaced that a Wells Fargo bank employee has been banned from leaving the country. Wall Street Journal reports that the exit ban applies to Shanghai-born Chen Yuemao, who heads the bank's international factoring business. Business groups, diplomats, and overseas executives say the incident is part of a long-term trend that had appeared to ease. A spokesperson for China's foreign ministry said he was not aware of the matter. He added that China is committed to providing a welcoming environment for foreign companies. The U.S. Embassy in Beijing said it could not comment on specifics, but said it raised concerns with Chinese authorities about arbitrary exit bans on American citizens.
Meanwhile, artificial intelligence is upping its game. On Thursday, OpenAI announced a new feature for ChatGPT that will allow it to think and act for a user. The company said a user can pose a highly complex question and get help. One example, asking for help finding attire and hotel reservations, that is, to attend a wedding. Analysts say the new tool will help turn ChatGPT into a reliable assistant for users. But OpenAI says the new function does have some limitations. The company says it has limited the data the new tool has access to, and some tasks like sending an email will still require a user to oversee the message. The tool can also not perform high-risk tasks like bank transfers. Chinese steel makers appears to be bypassing tariffs with semi-finished blocks called steel billets. Dozens of countries have launched anti-dumping investigations on Chinese steel exports, and top trade partners, Vietnam and South Korea, have imposed tariffs. Customs data shows exports of steel billets between January and May were 3 times greater than the year before. Records show top export destinations for steel billets are Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. Those countries have tariffs on finished steel products, but none on steel billets. New research shows Chinese-linked hackers have their eyes set on the semiconductor industry, and they're escalating and intensifying their cyber espionage activities. Here's more.
China-linked hackers are stepping up their attacks on both the Taiwanese semiconductor industry and investment analysts. This is based on new analysis from cybersecurity firm Proofpoint. Researchers have noted an increase in sustained hacking campaigns from several China-aligned hacking groups. Proofpoint says at least 3 different Chinese-linked groups carried out the attacks primarily between March and June of this year. The hackers would pose as job seekers or investors and send out emails that included links to malware. While researchers did not name the targets, they said there were about 15 to 20, ranging from small businesses to large global enterprises. This comes as Washington has beefed up restrictions on exports to China of U.S.-designed chips, which are often manufactured in Taiwan.
Cutting China out of undersea telecommunication cables. The U.S. has expressed broad data security concerns about a network of more than 400 subsea cables that handle 99% of international internet traffic. As a result, the FCC said it plans to bar companies using Chinese tech or equipment from connecting to the cables. It's considering blocking those on its list of companies that have been deemed to pose threats to national security. This includes Huawei, ZTE, China Telecom, and China Mobile. CBS says it's canceling The Late Show with Stephen Colbert in May of next year, ending a staple of late-night television. Colbert announced the news during yesterday's taping, telling the crowd, quote, "This is all just going away." CBS executives say the decision was purely financial and not tied to ratings or Colbert's content. Still, the cancellation comes just days after Colbert criticized CBS's parent company, Paramount, for settling a lawsuit tied to the 60 Minutes segment, which Trump filed. Colbert's show leads its time slot and just earned another Emmy nomination this week. It's no $45 billion prize like the players in Squid Game are competing for, but the dystopian Korean drama helped Netflix beat Wall Street estimates. The third and final season of the global phenomenon was just released just days before the streamer's second quarter ended. Netflix says it racked up 122 million views. The streaming service also raised its revenue guidance for the year to $44.8 billion. It cited a weakening dollar plus healthy member growth and ad sales. While Netflix has been building its ad-supported service, it said advertising will not be its primary growth driver this year. The first teaser for the final season of the Netflix show Stranger Things has dropped, and for the kids, the Japanese animated movie My Neighbor Totoro returns to theaters. Also, the new Superman movie spurs interest in dog adoption. Here's more.
Wherever this blood leads. I need you to fight one last time.
Here's your first look at the fifth and final season of Stranger Things. Our heroes are united, but their town is under military quarantine. 11 is in hiding, and the final battle is looming. Volume 1 of the final season debuts November 26th on Netflix, with Volume 2 on Christmas Day and the finale on New Year's Eve.
Seen him too. That's very interesting.
My Neighbor Totoro is returning to theaters. The magical adventure from Oscar-winning director Hayao Miyazaki screens in Japanese with subtitles on July 21st and 22nd and dubbed in English on July 19th, 20th, and 23rd. Locations and showtimes at fathomentertainment.com.
Crypto. Home. Take me home.
Superman fans may be taking more dogs home because of the movie. The dog training app Woofs tells The Wrap Google searches for "Adopt a Dog Near Me" jumped more than 500% after the film's opening weekend. Good boy, Crypto. Good boy.
Burberry said on Friday its retail sales fell by less than expected 1% in the first quarter, ending June 28th, showing early signs of a recovery for the British luxury brand, struggling with underperformance. Here's more.
There were early signs of a recovery for British luxury brand Burberry on Friday, as its retail sales fell by a less than expected 1% in the first quarter. Shares in the firm, which have more than doubled since September, rose around 5% in early trade. Known for its trench coats and check pattern scarves, Burberry is using its British heritage designs to try to win back customers. That's under the leadership of CEO Josh Schulman, who took over a year ago. The company said comparable sales returned to growth in Europe, while trading in the Americas strengthened. Sales fell in China and the rest of Asia, but the rate of decline was around half of the level seen in the previous quarter. Burberry has issued several profit warnings in recent years, and as part of its turnaround drive under Schulman, it plans to cut a fifth of its global workforce. Investors have welcomed the radical cost-cutting measure. The 1% drop in overall comparable retail sales in the first quarter improved on a 6% fall in the previous quarter.
Onto Wall Street, S&P 500 and Nasdaq ended mostly flat today. Markets partially recovered. Now, despite recent record highs, investors are now focused on how President Trump's policies and new economic data are impacting the broader economy. Earnings season began with strong results. Over 81% of early S&P 500 reporters beating expectations. Still, stock reactions were mixed, with some companies falling despite strong earnings. Crypto stocks rose after a House bill advanced regulation, while energy stocks declined. That's it on today's Business Matters. Coming up, Coca-Cola or Pepsi? Costco food courts are now switching back to Coca-Cola products. The rollout began this summer. Find out more after the break.
What if kids in America didn't have to go to bed hungry tonight? What if our moms, dads, and grandparents could put healthy food on the table every day to help us grow strong? What if all of our friends and neighbors had fresh food too, and there was no hunger at all in America? And what if there was a way today for you to help? Call now or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give $19 a month, just 63 cents a day. So many of us don't have enough food to eat, but your monthly gift means families across the country and in your community can fill plates with food. Kids can get healthy meals year-round, even when school's out, and our neighbors can have fresh food. Food that moms, dads, entire families need to thrive. But right now, more people are facing hunger. Feeding America works from coast to coast with partner food banks, food pantries, and meal programs. It takes all of us to make that happen. Will you help too? Please call the number on your screen or go online to helpfeedingamerica.org and give just $19 a month, and we'll send you this free canvas grocery bag. It's our way of saying thank you for helping to end hunger for our neighbors. Because no kid, no mom or dad, nobody should go hungry in America. Nobody. So what if today was the day you could help nourish futures for our friends, our families, for all of us? Ending hunger is possible. What if we end it together? Call or give online today at helpfeedingamerica.org and your gift can be doubled. Thank you.
To celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7, I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
We're following breaking news from Southern California, where a deadly explosion has claimed the lives of 3 sheriff's deputies. NTD's Christina Corona has the latest from East Los Angeles.
We're down the street from the LASD training facility where 3 sheriff deputies are dead and another person is hospitalized after an apparent explosion that occurred around 7:30 this morning. Now, this facility houses the department's special enforcement and arson units.
Tragically, they were 3 sworn members who were fatally killed that were assigned to our arson explosives detail.
An undetonated ordnance exploded at the Biscayne Regional Training Center located at 1060 Northeastern Avenue.
Currently, our homicide detectives are on scene and they are investigating the deaths that are we are being assisted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, who are investigating the post-blast portion of this incident.
Sheriff Luna also thanked the LAPD bomb squad and Chief Jim McDonnell, saying they responded immediately after the explosion to render the devices safe.
At this time, we do not know the cause of the explosion. However, the specific area has been closed off due to the ongoing investigation.
The sheriff added the identities of the deputies have not been released, but their deaths mark the deadliest day for the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department since 1857.
Between all three sworn members, they had served our community proudly for 74 years, and that's amongst all three of them collectively. 19 years, 22 years, and 33 years.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said on X that she spoke with Sheriff Luna and U.S. Attorney Asalee, confirming the FBI and ATF are helping with the investigation. This remains a developing story, and the investigation is ongoing. Reporting from the city of Monterey Park, Christina Corona, NTD News.
And some weather updates now. Forecasters say flash flooding remains a threat along the Gulf Coast into the weekend. Forecasters say storms could repeatedly hit the same areas, dumping several inches of rain. Parts of southeastern Louisiana were hit hard yesterday, with up to 9 inches of rain flooding streets and homes. In New Orleans, city buildings closed and sandbag distribution sites opened as officials braced for flooding. Earlier in the week, the storm soaked Florida's Gulf Coast with nearly a foot of rain in the Tampa area. Meanwhile, the death toll from the Texas floods has risen to at least 135 after an additional death was reported in Travis County, Texas. This new information comes from Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who held a press conference yesterday. Here are the details.
I think it's the largest flood in the history of Texas.
Nearly 2 weeks after fatal flooding struck the area July 4th, multiple search and rescue groups are still navigating through thick debris to find victims. 2 rescuers were found spotted up to their thighs in mud as others assisted searching through debris. Others are seen digging on their knees next to a pile of broken tree branches. Among the dead, at least 116 people were from the Kerrville area.
More people lost their lives in Kerrville than those who lost their lives in Hurricane Harvey.
There's people in it.
Texans still reliving the catastrophic flooding.
It's just something that was beyond belief.
Scott and Katie Fineski run an all-boys camp along the Guadalupe River. They say they successfully evacuated 18 cabins on their campgrounds when the flooding started.
We were on the high ground screaming at the counselors to get their kids in the rafters.
They knew exactly what to do. They knew how to do it. They knew the path that they were going to go.
A different outcome than that at nearby Camp Mystic, where 27 campers and counselors perished. Officials say they're looking into how to prevent losses of life in the future.
We cannot bring them back. We cannot undo that. But what we can do is learn from it.
And on a lighter note, President Trump this week announcing that Coca-Cola has agreed to use real cane sugar in its formula. While the company itself hasn't confirmed the change, are everyday Americans on board with it? NTD Sam Wong was out on the National Mall in D.C. to hear from the people.
According to President Trump, Coca-Cola has now agreed to put actual cane sugar back into their products instead of using corn syrup. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I agree with it 100%. I've never been a fan of high fructose corn syrup. I'm glad that they're bringing the real sugar back. I think it's a lot better for you. Let's be honest, it just tastes better.
Don't think it'd matter. Trying to bring jobs back to America, that's all he's doing.
Cane sugar is a better option. Glass bottle, can't beat it.
I think that it's going to be more fattening, but better for you in the long run.
Might keep the kids a little extra animated at night, but other than that, anything that's natural is better than fruit juice or anything else like that, I think.
And do you like those Coke in the bottle or do you like them in a can?
I like it in the bottle. I like to see what I'm drinking.
I know that Coca-Cola in other countries is supposed to be better because they actually use cane sugar. So I guess we'll have to see. Oh no, it's interesting.
Have you ever had Mexican Coke?
That's what I was thinking of. I have not had it, but that's what I've heard that's like the stuff.
The HHS is now working to gradually phase out artificial food dyes from America's food supply. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I agree with it 100%. I mean, our food quality's junk. We got to increase. We got to fix it. Food without all the additives tastes better to me, and I mean it's better for you. Look at our obesity in this country. It's got to be the food.
Yeah, you need that yellow 5 and that blue 40 out of there, man. It's bad for the kids, bro.
Well, maybe if there's like stuff that you can't pronounce, perhaps it's not that good for you.
Yeah, that too. But that yellow 5 is bad.
I think we're just so used to it because we've all grown up with it. We don't know any different, but we don't really know what it's been doing to our bodies this entire time. So I think it's a good idea.
I know that some of the more natural food dyes used centuries ago were not the healthier option. I think I'd have to educate myself more on the natural dyes and some of these artificial ones before, you could really judge it.
I think it's good. I need to do more research on the benefits or the negatives of Red 40, stuff like that. But it's probably good to get rid of them. If other countries don't have it and we're just throwing it out there, maybe we should limit it.
I agree. I travel Europe quite a bit as well, and a lot of the food over there, they don't allow it at all. And to be honest with you, I think there is a difference. You can taste it and you can see it. So it's about time.
Brazilian police raid the home and political headquarters of former President Jair Bolsonaro. A court also ordered Bolsonaro to wear an ankle bracelet and stop communications with his son, who's in exile in the U.S. Bolsonaro is now seeking the help of President Trump. NTD's international correspondent Arian Pastar has the story.
Brazilian police on Friday raiding the home and the political headquarters of former President Jair Bolsonaro. Police acted in compliance with an order from Brazil's Supreme Court, which conservatives say is biased against Bolsonaro. The order prohibits Bolsonaro from leaving the house at night, communicating with foreign ambassadors or diplomats or approach embassies, using social media, and contacting other individuals under investigation by the Supreme Court, including his son, Eduardo Bolsonaro. Eduardo is a Brazilian lawmaker who currently lives in the United States in exile. Former President Bolsonaro is on trial at the Supreme Court. He's accused of leading an alleged attempt to stage a coup to overturn the 2022 election. The alleged coup attempt happened on January 8, 2023. On Thursday night, President Trump sent a letter to Bolsonaro, writing, "This trial should end immediately. I am very concerned about the attacks on free speech, both in Brazil and in the United States." On Friday, Bolsonaro, whose passport has been seized, said he'd like to meet with Trump.
If I had the passport, I would ask for an audience to visit Donald Trump. If he granted it, I would ask to talk about Brazil's issues.
President Trump recently imposed 50% tariffs on imports from Brazil, citing what he called a witch hunt against Bolsonaro. On Friday, Brazilian President Lula da Silva rejected what he called unacceptable blackmail. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
Ukraine wants to step up peace talks with Russia. Moscow responds saying it welcomes the idea and that the Kremlin is interested in further negotiations as well. This after President Trump accused Russia of talking about peace without actually wanting it. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky took to X today, writing, quote, "Intensify the negotiation track. This process needs more momentum." Russia responded to Zelensky's message, calling it a positive signal. A spokesperson for the Kremlin added that Moscow also thinks the negotiations should gain momentum. Russia and Ukraine already held 2 rounds of talks in Turkey earlier this year. They agreed to exchange prisoners of war and the remains of fallen soldiers. Those agreements were fulfilled for the most part, but the 2 sides didn't set a date for a new round of talks after the negotiations in Turkey. The European Union is set to impose further sanctions on Moscow. The bloc today agreed on the 18th package of sanctions against Russia over its war in Ukraine. This includes measures aimed at the Russian oil and energy industry. The bloc's foreign policy chief calls it one of the strongest set of sanctions against the Kremlin yet. The EU will set a moving price cap on Russian crude oil at 15% below its average market price, but it's not clear how effective this will be. So far, Russia managed to sell most of its oil by circumventing previous sanctions. Talk of a wealth tax has entered British political discourse. It would be a tax on multi-millionaires, but while it could bring in new tax revenue, a tax reform expert warns such a move could directly impact the British economy. NTD's international correspondent Malcolm Hudson has more for us.
British politics has seen proposals for a wealth tax enter public discourse. Labour Lord Neil Kinnock proposed a 2% tax on assets worth over £10 million, which is about $13.4 million, and said it could raise around $13 or $14 billion. So far, the government has declined to rule out the proposal. But while wealth taxes may bring in tax revenue, they also have knock-on consequences. Catherine McBride from the Tax Reform Council said other recent tax changes have already led to thousands of millionaires leaving the country.
And I know people who were in that exodus. It's the most ridiculous thing because they've taken their money with them, and so there's less money to invest in the economy.
A report by global analytics firm New World Wealth and investment migration advisors Henley & Partners said more than 10,000 millionaires left the UK in 2024. The report said the UK has some of the highest capital gains tax and estate duty rates in the world, which deters wealthy business owners and retirees from living in Britain. McBride said most European countries that had wealth taxes have got rid of them.
And Sweden had big wealth taxes. In the 80s, a lot of people moved to the UK. And now they've dropped those wealth taxes and they've dropped their death duties. And a lot of the same Swedes are going back to Sweden.
A number of prominent business owners have publicly said they will leave the UK if a wealth tax is implemented. They raise concerns over how the tax on unrealized gains will be calculated, and say it could crush the startup business scene. If a business does well, its owners could face a big tax bill. McBride said there's also the risk the government could expand the tax.
And as the very wealthy leave, of course, they'll bring the bracket down. Because if they can't raise money from people with more than £10 million in assets, then it will be 5 million, and then maybe 3 million, 2 million.
She said a wealth tax would particularly affect London, since it's where most of Britain's wealthy are centred, and warns the government against such a move.
So this will just be another tax on London. And right now they cannot afford to annoy London anymore because people are quite mobile here and they will leave.
Malcolm Hudson, NTD News.
Coming up, one of the UK's original Victorian lavender fields wows today's visitors. Some travel from around the world to witness the spectacular colors. Stay tuned for that when we come back.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're going to benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
The bladder control aisle. You won't shop here again. Your private business is your own. The constant struggle is over. Now there's a better way. It's HDIS. We home deliver bladder control products. We understand how you feel. For over 25 years, we've home delivered to many of the 20 million Americans who deal with incontinence. We offer all brands. We pay shipping and use plain, unmarked boxes. If we can help you or someone you care for, call for your free product sample pack and $45 in money-saving coupons. Our counselors will help you choose the right product. And unlike stores, we're always in stock. You'll get what you need. Satisfaction guaranteed. HDIS, the better way.
For your free sample pack with your free catalog, $45 in money-saving coupons, and free product samples, call 1-800-701-6159. That's 1-800-701-6159.
Jillian Thorpe has faced extraordinary pain losing her father as a child, enduring separation, and the sudden death of her husband. But she says her life is not a story of being broken, it's about becoming whole. She joined Bay Area innovators to share what healing really looks like.
Your life has been a roller coaster. I know you start your first sentence in the book is, I was born among thieves. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so I was called a call baby when you're born completely inside the amnio sac, and that's very rare.
1 in 80,000 or something.
Yeah, and there's a lot of superstition around babies born within the amniotic sac. They would sell that skin to sailors who believed that it prevented drowning or it brought supernatural powers. But that was stolen the moment that I was born. So I use that analogy of being born amongst thieves because I was literally born amongst thieves. And then what subsequently occurred throughout my life and the series of tragedies that followed.
Now, your father died when you were 4 years old.
Yes.
And then you probably defined the word resilient. Please tell us a bit of some of the hardest situations you were in.
So that's a great question. I mean, when I say a series of tragedies, I don't say that lightly, starting from the death of my father at 4 years old. He actually had committed suicide. Back then, suicide was considered very taboo. You did not talk about it at all. That was really difficult for me to comprehend because I was very close to my father. I admired him, loved him. He was my absolute world at that age. My mom turned to alcoholism after he passed away. So she was physically there, but not really capable of taking care of us. So my grandmother sent us away to what they called boarding school, but it was really foster care on a remote farm. Ultimately, I'd come over to the United States and I'd talk about the difficulties and the transitions of coming here as an immigrant. I would later then, fortunately, met the absolute love of my life, my late husband, Darren Thorpe, who was truly the first person who cared about me, walked by my side. There's so much that I could say about him. And then tragically,
of course, he was in the NFL, right?
Yes, yeah.
Right.
So he and I met in college, and unfortunately, he tragically and unexpectedly passed away. And he was an incredibly healthy human being. He ate healthy. He never did drugs. He was truly the epitome of health, and then just literally dropped dead one day. So that was another enormous tragedy within my life. And then I think you asked, how does one get over that?
Exactly, yeah.
So I think ultimately, although my book is a story of a series of incredible tragedies in my life, it's ultimately really a book and a story not about being broken, but about how one becomes whole. I wrote it as a form of therapy for myself. I wasn't intending to share this with anybody else, but then ultimately decided to do so. And that's another story in itself. But in terms of how does one become whole, for me, I see it as one is truth, right? For many years, I ran from my past. I wanted nothing to do with it. It was shameful. It was something I'd rather forget. But it doesn't go anywhere. It still physically lives inside of you, and it turns cancerous. And I don't mean that in a physical sense, and yes, it does for some people, but it manifests in unhealthy forms. Then the next part, really important, is safety. Finding a safe space to bring all this stuff to the surface.
Because if you bring it out, it gets eliminated in many ways. It gets dispersed.
It absolutely does, Steve. But if it stays in us, it literally eats us.
Yes.
Trauma is very physical and very real within us. I find healthy ways of expressing that. For me, it was writing. Writing is incredibly therapeutic for me. And once it comes out on paper, it almost becomes somebody else's story. It's like the feelings are released from that. Although there's so much tragedy and yes, sadness, and it brings people to tears as they read some of the tragedies that I went through. But what they do get is that the whole purpose of this is about how do you become whole, and regardless of how painful or how complicated your story may be. For me, I had somebody else write the chapters of my story as a child, but as an adult, I get to write my story now. I get to write the chapters of my future for myself, and you can have that. You can write that however you wish. There's always hope. There truly is always hope.
A golf tournament in an unusually cold location. Golfers swapped well-kept greens for ice at the North Pole Clock Golf Championship. Clock golf is a Victorian-era variation where players putt from numbered points arranged like a round clock face. While clock golf was mostly played in gardens for amateur golfers, this new championship adjusted the rules to suit the cold and icy North Pole setting. 19 players competed for the title to become the first North Pole clock golf champion. While some were avid golfers, others had little or no golf experience at all. James Elliott Square, a Briton living in Dubai, triumphed with 16 strokes in 33 seconds, giving him a winning score of 49. Some of the UK's original Victorian lavender fields is wowing today's visitors with its display of purple blooms. Some travel from around the world to witness the spectacular colors. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the annual event.
Visitors stroll through rows of purple lavender. Some take photos while others stop to take whiffs of the sweet, fresh flowers. This is the Mayfield Lavender Farm, 15 miles from the center of London. The site is a family-run business led by Lorna May and her husband.
This is the home of one of the original Victorian lavender farms, because maybe a lot of people don't know that this area of South London was very famous for lavender growing in the 18th and 19th centuries. So although we started it in 2006, it was actually a long time before.
By the early 1900s, thousands of acres which were once lavender fields gradually turned into housing estates. Most of the lavender in London disappeared. May says it was mostly locals who visited when they first opened in 2006. Now people visit from around the world.
You'll see that there are loads of tourists that have come from the Asian continent in particular. I guess that's because the Chinese, we first started having loads and loads of Chinese people in the field, and for them, lavender represents love, purity, romance and innocence.
The Mays originally planted around 150,000 plants back in 2006. May's daughter, Jess May, manages the farm's shop. She explains why her family's fragrant lavender oil is still so popular.
Lavender does loads of different things. It can be a great natural antiseptic and anti-inflammatory. So I use it a lot for sunburn, bee stings, mosquito bites. But you know, it's fantastic for helping you sleep. Put a couple of drops on your pillow, put it in the bath to help you relax.
Terry Gale is visiting the Mayfield Lavender Farm for the first time. He's wanted to enjoy it for the last 26 years.
This is the first time we've been, and it's very impressive. It's just so relaxing, and obviously the lavender smells. It's just fantastic experience.
The Mayfield Lavender Farm even has its own cafe. The family sells products such as lavender ice cream, lavender cookies, and lavender tea. Just one factor that should keep visitors coming back. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
That's it for today. Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Mott. Stay with us for NTD Evening News at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.